Good evening, everyone. We'll call tonight's meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Welcome to tonight's September 23rd, 2025 meeting. We will have our Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me. City Manager, will you please lead us?
Wow. Okay. Ready? Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up, we will have a roll call. Present. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. All right. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
Okay. Before we get into ceremonial matters, as I see a large crowd here today, I would just like to remind everyone that we do have a new counter for 3 minutes when we do come to public speaking times. And if you are planning on speaking, and you know you are, there are cards in the back so that we can make sure we call people up to order in some sort of fashion rather than it being a mad dash for the microphone. So if you could please do that, that'd be great. All right, first item on the agenda is item 5A, proclamation, Global War on Terrorism and Desert Storm Veteran Appreciation. This will be read by Lori Pride.
Thank you. City of Willows proclamation, Global War on Terrorism and Desert Storm Veterans Appreciation Day. Whereas we solemnly honor the memory of more than 7,300 American men and women who made the supreme sacrifice defending the freedom of the United States from the evils of terrorism in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan, and who fought for the independence of the people of Kuwait during Operation Desert Storm. And whereas we recognize the courage of over 50,000 Americans wounded during the global war on terrorism and more than 1,000 Americans wounded during Operation Desert Storm. And whereas we pay tribute to the millions of Americans who deployed, fought, and sacrificed for our nation's freedom, acknowledging our solemn responsibility to those who served, to our fallen, and to our loved ones. And whereas we honor the American patriots who defended freedom and democracy throughout the Middle East, Northern Africa, and the European theater, leaving behind families and loved ones to secure the blessings of liberty for future generations. And whereas we will never cease in our duty to remember, support, and honor the families of more than 31,000 post 9/11 American service members who have died by suicide, bearing the invisible burdens of war and the freedoms they so valiantly protected. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, we do hereby proclaim October 7, 2025 as Global War on Terrorism and Desert Storm Veterans Appreciation Day in the City of Willows. On this day, we encourage all citizens to reflect on the strength, sacrifice, and sense of duty of our veterans, to honor their service, and to express deep gratitude for the freedoms secured through their courage. In witness whereof, Evan Hudson, as mayor, will set his hand and official seal on this 23rd day of September 2025. I believe we have John Benningfield and Kevin to the proclamation.
And after you receive the proclamation, if you have a couple words to say, please feel free.
We'll take that opportunity. It will not be 3 minutes. I moved to Willows it's about 8 years ago, and I've been part of the VFW for the last 4. On behalf of Post 1770 of the VFW, we really appreciate your recognition by the City Council in the City of Willows. We do as much as we can to support the city, fire department, police department, all of the departments that are in there. And we really appreciate, again, this recognition or sacrifice. I was in Operation Desert Storm. So Saudi Arabia is not Willows, and I never want to go back. I like Willows. I love the United States. They can have it as far as I'm concerned. But I've had many friends who have fought in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Hopefully one day we'll learn our lessons and we won't ever have to do it anymore. Right there. But thank you very much for this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Next item is item 5B, proclamation, breast cancer awareness, presented by Councilmember Matt Busby.
City of Willows proclamation, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas breast cancer is one of the most commonly diagnosed cancers and affects hundreds of thousands of individuals and families across the nation each year. And whereas October is recognized nationally and globally as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, providing an opportunity to raise awareness, promote early detection, and support continued research toward prevention, treatment, and a cure. And whereas early detection through screenings, self-exams, and regular medical checkups significantly increase survival rates, making education and outreach efforts essential. And whereas the City of Willows recognizes the courage and resilience of breast cancer survivors, honors the memory of those whose lives were lost, and stands in solidarity with family, friends, and caregivers who provide unwavering support. And whereas the City of Willows commends healthcare professionals, researchers, and advocates dedicated to advancing treatment, increasing awareness, and working tirelessly to end breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Willows, and encourage all residents to join in activities that increase awareness, support those affected, and promote regular screenings and preventative care. In witness whereof, on behalf of Evan Hudson, to set hand and official this seal 23rd day of September 2025.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to come accept this on behalf of all the people who kind of deal with it? Anybody? Thank you very much.
Yay, Jan. Oh.
Next up, we have item 5C, proclamation, National Fire Prevention Week. City of Willows proclamation, National Fire Prevention Week. Whereas Fire Prevention Week is observed annually to raise awareness about the dangers of the fire and the importance of education and preparedness. And whereas this year's theme, Charge into Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home, emphasizes that these batteries, found in everyday items like phones, laptops, and power tools, require safe use, storage, and disposal to prevent fire risks. And whereas misused and damaged lithium-ion batteries can overheat or catch fire, but residents can reduce hazards by following safety steps such as using the correct chargers, keeping batteries away from heat, and recycling them properly. And whereas the Willows Fire Department, along with national fire safety organizations, is dedicated to educating the public and promoting practices that protect lives, homes, and the environment. And whereas the City Council encourages all residents to learn about lithium-ion battery safety, participate in Fire Prevention Week activities, and support the year-round work of our fire service professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim the week of October 5th through the 11th, 2025, as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Willows, and urge every citizen to take steps to reduce fire risks in their homes and the community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and official seal this 23rd day of September 2025. And it looks like Chief is not here to receive this, so I'll hold on to it and I'll give it to him later and hang it up on his wall. All right. Next up, item 5D, proclamation, National Farmers Day, presented by Councilmember Gary Hansen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the honor. Proud to be involved with the family business of farming Our family's been involved for well over a century, so thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity. City of Willows Proclamation, National Farmers Day. Whereas National Farmers Day provides an opportunity to honor the hardworking men and women who cultivate the land, raise livestock, and produce the food, fiber, and fuel that sustain our community and nation. And whereas farmers have long been the backbone of our country, contributing to the health of our citizens, the strength of our economy, and the preservation of rural traditions and values. And whereas the City of Willows and the greater Glenn County region are blessed with rich agricultural heritage and fertile lands where farmers grow diverse crops and raise livestock that help feed families locally, nationally, and around the world. And whereas farming requires tireless commitment and resilience in the face of challenges such as weather, pests, and economic pressures, while also demanding innovation to meet the needs of a growing population and conserve resources for future generations. And whereas the Glenn County Farm Bureau plays a vital role in supporting farmers and ranchers through advocacy, education, and community engagement, ensuring the continued vitality of agriculture in our region. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and thank our farmers, ranchers, agricultural workers, and partners for their contributions to daily life and for sustaining Willow's proud farming traditions. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim October 12th, 2025 as National Farmers Day in the City of Willows and encourage all residents to recognize the vital role of farmers and to support and celebrate their contributions to our community, state, and nation. In witness whereof, Mayor Hudson has hereunto set his hand and official seal this 23rd day of September 2025. Lisa Humphreys with Glenn County Farm Bureau. Lisa, I was just going to say, I see Larry Dominique, also a farmer and very active in the Farm Bureau. Larry, good to see you. Thank you.
Made a mistake letting an Italian have a microphone.
Perfect clock, Evan. Quick.
Yeah.
So, thank you for this recognition. Glenn County Farm Bureau thanks you. I'm one of 32 directors on the board, representing about 500 farm families, farmers and rancher families in the county. Farm Bureau promotes the economic vitality, viability of farmers and ranchers and of rural communities, supporting the rural lifestyle. But in Glenn County, we have a couple of specialized programs. I'm especially proud of our ag education program. You know, it's not just college scholarships, trade school scholarships. We recently, with donations and our contributions, bought approximately, don't quote me on this, about 60 FFA jackets for high school students in the county, for those who can't afford it, for about $100 a piece. We also have a farm day every September. We just had it. Upwards of 400 fourth graders from the county come and learn about agriculture. So there's a lot of activities. So we thank you. One more thing is in 2017, the Ag Department did an economic study of agriculture in Glenn County. And at that time, it found about 30% of jobs in the county were directly related to ag. And if you look at the ag related businesses, probably another 8 to 10%. And the 2023 crop report for Glenn County, approximately $704 million in farm gate receipts. You take the multiplier effect, it adds up to an economic impact of probably $1.2 billion in the county. Just to give you an idea of the scope of ag. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity and for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Mayor, if I might note and embarrass Larry a little bit, Larry also served honorably on this very council for 2 terms, 8 years. So thank you, Larry, for your service.
All right. Next up, item 6A, improving park safety and infrastructure. Receive an improving park safety and infrastructure presentation. I'll pass this over to Mr. Betancourt.
Just very quickly, I just wanted to point out that little oversight, did not make hard copies of the PowerPoint, nor did it get into an amended packet and posted yesterday as originally planned. The electronic PowerPoint is complete. If you want to move forward, we can move forward without hard copies, or the item could be continued to the next council meeting. Council's discretion and choice.
Considering that we have the biggest crowd that I've seen inside this all in a while, I would say proceed with the presentation.
And we've already continued it once when
Yeah.
we talked about doing it last time, and we already moved it once.
Okay.
All right, good evening, Council. Joe Betancourt, Community Development and Services Director. So this presentation before you came at the request of Mayor Hudson to kind of go over the parks, our parks here in town, and see where we were deficient, both on safety issues and infrastructure, maintenance and upkeep. We went and looked at Jensen Park, Central Park, and Sycamore Park to assess safety and needed infrastructure improvements. We'll look at each of these parks individually in the presentation and address safety issues kind of based on order of importance, and then look at kind of infrastructure and aesthetic improvements per park. To start off, I want to look at the park budget so we can get an idea of what kind of money we're working with in our parks. The two main figures to pay attention to are going to be that special department expense line at $5,500 and then $1,500 for building maintenance. Building maintenance goes to kind of the toiletries and restocking of supplies. And then the special department goes towards replacement of sprinklers, fixing other infrastructure. So that totals out $7,000 that we have. The rest of the money goes towards utility costs and water costs. All right, we'll start with Jensen Park. And next slide. So one of the major issues at Jensen Park is the lack of crumb rubber in our playground equipment areas, which there are two of those. It's approximately less than an inch of rubber, and they recommend having at least 5 to 6 inches of crumb rubber with a 5-foot fall distance. So to fix this, staff would recommend adding 4 inches of additional crumb rubber to both the playgrounds at Jensen Park, which total approximately 1,500 square yards. This would take approximately 2,000 bags of crumb rubber and would cost approximately $16,000. Staff can look into ordering bulk materials to try to save some money, but if you bought it in 2,000-pound sacks, you'd be looking at $16,000 for both the playgrounds at Jensen Park. This is a decent liability for the city, as the rubber can be even less than an inch under the swings where it tends to move around. So getting this back up to a depth that supports our fall height is a major liability decreaser. In Jensen Park, we do have a lot of trees that are starting to rot or die off. We recently had one split in half. So Public Works Superintendent has gone and examined the rest of the trees at this park. There are 9 additional trees she's looking at removing to address safety concerns. And we'd also like to look at setting up budget for replacement of these trees as we take them out. Next, we've got this is rubberized coatings at the swings that's deteriorated. This can create a burn or cut hazard. Public Works is going to look to replace these chains or reapply a rubber coating. This is something that we can get an easy, cheap win out of. Next, the benches and tables throughout the park are in various different shades of being acceptable or disrepair. This is one of the worst ones at Jensen Park. It's a composite park table that tends to warp with heat, and you also get kids jumping on them. You can see this one has a broken board, and that's why it's the worst. So Public Works is going to be working on that this week. But just in the heat and kids jumping on that top table, we see warpage throughout on these kind of composite tables. Here's an example of a metal table. These tables, it's kind of bent. You can't really see it, but they also expose sharp edges and sharp corners. Normally they have caps on those ends. It looks like those caps have came off, exposing a sharp edge to it. And also metal tables out in full direct sunlight can always be risk of a burn hazard from somebody crawling on them. So we've got a lot of different mix match tables there. Public Works is probably going to be looking to remove some of them that cause the most serious hazard. Here's a permanent in place bench. Main issue with these wood benches tends to be the wood itself and either deterioration or in this instant. We've got a raised lip on the middle board, creating kind of a catch hazard on there, and then repainting of the seats itself to prevent splitters is something that can be done to reduce risk. And finally, here's an example of recent tables that we've kind of gone to and benches themselves. So these are a metal table with a rubberized coating. You can see the corners are all rounded. The rubberized coating prevents the burn hazard and there's no sharp edges on it. Obviously, if that rubber coating comes off, it needs to be addressed immediately, or else you're going to run into exposed metal, which is not outdoor ready to be exposed and will be eaten away. And this is, we want to get to a standard on our new benches and tables. So as we move forward and replace some of these old ones, we want to eliminate the mix match of having different varieties, different styles, and just making it more aesthetically pleasing on having the same types of things instead of like I said, mixed match of things. These tables currently run approximately $1,200, and the benches are $600 to $800. Some of the fencing, this picture of the fencing is on the Little League outfield bleacher. And there's other smaller instances of this, so we'd like Public Works to go around and look at snipped ends as they can be cut poke hazards on these types of cyclone fencing. We did a project with Willows Little League last year where we replaced a lot of bleachers at the softball field and the Little League. It was a really good cooperative effort. They purchased the boards for us and the paint, and our crews went out and painted and replaced the boards and also replaced some of these softball field backstops and edge lines. But some of the boards that were in good shape last year now need to be repainted. Again, just a sliver hazard. This is a larger project here, the gazebo roof. It shakes shingle in poor conditions. The roof has visible holes on the inside of it. This creates a slip hazard when rain comes through and lands on the concrete. Roof replacement is obviously expensive, so this would be an item that would need to be budgeted in future years. Public Works will look to prioritize painting of the fascia boards and the actual structure itself, though. The next one is just an example of the types of holes that are in the roof. There's about, I'd say 2 to 3 of those holes where you can see light coming through. This is the barbecue. It's just in bad shape. The wood's rotted out. It's old looking. We've discussed several of these projects with our Rotarians to try to upgrade them. And this is one of those projects that came up. And we always look for ways to, in all of these where we can find community support and or involve the high school or the arts council or any of those types of partners that we can lean on in the community. But Rotary's been forward about looking at some of these projects and assisting the city with upgrades. This happened, I think, at the last car and bike show where somebody hit one of our podiums with the power on it. So we'll be looking to straighten that out. And then just park sheds in general down at Jensen Park. This is one example of our pump house, but it's kind of all over where our equipment maintenance storage stuff is at the baseball fields. They're just weathered, got some rot issue. And again, this is another project that Rotaries showed interest in rehabbing these with us. Bathroom basically just needs paint and could use a new roof, but not nearly as bad as the large gazebo at this point. But could have a freshen up. No real safety issue there.
Is that the bathroom by the softball fields?
That is correct. And I'm going to add one thing to that real quick, just because we're in the process of figuring out electrical at that field. So currently, there's really bad electrical, and I didn't put the slides in here on that softball field in particular. So when we go put in our updated lighting system, which will allow us to control it remotely, we did that a little bit ago. That's kind of taken a while because we're looking to upgrade the total electric panels on that field as well, because they need to be. And why that links into this bathroom is currently you have to have the softball field lights on to have that bathroom light on. So we're going to separate those to where they're independent and not dependent on each other. But yeah, the wood could be scraped and the concrete itself could be painted. And the last one, not the last one here, the drinking fountain at Jensen Park. I think I remember this being like this when I was a kid. Just a concrete slab that's elevated from the tree roots. trip hazard, run into it hazard. I don't know what that concrete pad does, if it's an actual support, but we'll be looking to move or remove or fix that down the road. And then the last thing I have for Jensen Park here is it's kind of hard to see, but the border, the edge, the landscape edging of this is busted with sharp ends. So kind of an aesthetic bad look on a street facing side with what could be considered a walking path for the street side. So we'd be looking to replace that edging, get it repaired. And then the only other thing with this area is having the crumb rubber in landscaped areas makes it very hard to keep it clean. The crews cannot blow the leaves out of the area because they'll blow the crumb rubber out of the area. So probably low on the list of things to do, but I would always like to remove that crumb rubber and do more of a cobble rock. So that way those leaves aren't stuck in there and are easier to get out. Okay, on to Central Park, and these are a lot less involved. So the first thing at Central Park again is the shed that we see. Just a bad look. It's kind of hidden there, I believe, on the east side of the parking lot, tucked away. I never have really noticed it before, but upon inspection, the paneling could get replaced, paint, all of those good things, similar to our sheds at Jensen Park. This is another project Rotary has discussed with us. This is underneath the gazebo at the 2030 Park, Central Park. Just redoing the paint. The roof structure itself seems to be in pretty good. It's a metal roof, obviously. Seems to be in pretty good shape. But the aesthetic look and protecting that for keeping longevity on that structure, both the metal poles and the wood beams, trusses under the roof could use paint. Vandalism. These are two tables at 20 Central Park. I'll reference it that way. Both covered in vandalism. This is a constant issue with staff. It seems to chase our tails on going over vandalism, whether it be at this park or another one of our major spots, the skate park, or around town on private property. Staff has since painted over this vandalism, and we're making strides on getting a little bit of a check and balance on these parks to make sure we're looking for it when we're there doing other duties like landscaping, so that it can be handled as soon as possible. Broken curb at the parking lot with a piece of rebar sticking out, so that'll get cut this week. The next one will be old pole signs. Some people, these things, it's on a curb, it's not a walking surface, but they're unnecessary at this point. They're never going to hold a pole again. So removing these screws that stick up, it can sometimes be the smallest thing, which creates a lawsuit for the city. So yeah, that's where that comes into play. Good. I'm going to add one more thing on that parking lot piece to it. All the striping is gone at the Central Park, and the handicap signage is removed, and the handicap space is not compliant and faded as well. So we kind of look at all these parks, an overall theme. Most of them do not have good striping, or the ADA signage is out of date as well. Okay, on to Sycamore Park. So we're going to start with a really bad one here. So this was something that happens when rubberized coating goes away and it is not resealed. You can see some very sharp edges there, very rusted out metal. Big hazard there. Public Works went out today and cut that seat off at the ground level. Even though we're looking to redo this park and a lot of the benches associated with it, those are the kind of things that are obvious safety hazard and need to be eliminated immediately. Next thing we see is lag bolts sticking out towards a walking path. And we need to do an overall evaluation of the wood barrier at this park. It's in bad shape. And I think we'll probably be bringing something down the road to figure out what we want to do with this wood barrier as far as maintaining it, eliminating it, or doing something new. The exercise equipment, just lack of paint, possible burn injuries, bad aesthetics, easy fix. So staff can go out and paint those to match. I already talked about this, kind of dilapidated. Barriers, great for keeping cars out of the park, but can be dangerous as kids play on them. Splinters, they could fall down anytime and they look bad. This is again at Sycamore Park. They seem to be the worst here, but this is kind of a reoccurring theme at all three. damaged signs that some of them in pretty bad faded shape, some of them just bent. Just something that can improve the community pride by having new signs and not worn out or faded ones. And also poles without signs. Obviously serve some purpose. And I'm sure Natisa would know better than me or somebody else, but we've got, again, at all three parks, poles where is no sign attached to it. So these either need to be removed or the signs that are supposed to be there need to be added to them. And then we've got our doggy clean us waste pieces. These are always tough as they're an ongoing maintenance cost, but it is bags. It is staff time. To me, if we're going to have them and keep them, we need to keep them full or else they don't need to be there. So this will be something that'll be kind of put back into our maintenance budget to keep stocked and maybe repainted. Again, kind of aesthetic look to it, but I noticed all of those were empty as well. So we'll kind of look at the video work. Next steps. So as I mentioned, Public Works staff has started to correct some of these issues, and they removed that vandalism after they were notified of it. Down the road, me and the city manager had a meeting with Shane Baird from Sedgwick. He's affiliated with our insurance company, and he'll be coming out in November and doing a full safety study on all of our parks. So he is the professional that will go through, look at our equipment, note all of our things. What that'll give us is just a good starting point where we can start checking some boxes, right? They're there to help us get in compliance. So that'll be a great tool for us to, own up to what we need to do for our safety. In addition to that, he's not going to be looking at aesthetics, but a lot of that can be done at the same time while improving safety. So once that's complete, we'd like to bring that safety report from Sedgwick back to the council just as another update. And we'll also bring back what we've accomplished and been able to do that was presented in this report as well. So with that concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions.
Pleasure of the council. Questions?
Nope, very informative. Thank you.
It's a little off topic, but since we do have people here, is there any update on the pool and some of the grant funding?
Yeah, so we've got our submission. We should be submission being the submission from Wildan Engineering for the pool plans and the park plans, and this was closer to a 90% submission on both, and they are currently in our city engineers' hands, and they were reviewing them. Been about 2 weeks now, so that's normally our kind of turnaround time. So I'd expect getting those back soon. Maybe some more. Usually there's a couple minor revisions, usually language-wise. And then we would be getting out to bid sooner than later. So we had some engineering obstacles with budget that we've figured out now and been able to move forward with the plans. And the pool plans are also currently at environmental health being reviewed, as they're the ones that sign off on those pieces of it. So we're doing that concurrently as well. Environmental health estimated 2 to 3 weeks on their review. Well, so kind of looking at that timeline.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Busby?
Same question, Sycamore Park.
So I don't want to make give a date that will be out to bid, but I'm optimistic that we're going to be very, very close, but able to open our pool up on a normal time, which would be around June. When we get our plans completed and get out to bid and contract awarded, we've got it estimated at 120 working days, which comes out to approximately 6 months real time. So barring weather and everything, we're at the final end of our engineering piece of it. So we're hoping that we can make up some ground and pick up some slack that we lost from the earlier piece of the project.
Perfect. Councilmember Hanson?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, these are just examples of some deferred maintenance, primarily due to lack of funding and lack of personnel. So we're finally coming out of that chapter. So thank you for the report, Joe. And I'm looking forward to the repairs and maintenance, ongoing maintenance at the parks. Thanks. Good to see. Thank you.
Yeah, I know, especially with Jensen Park, that was a huge update that happened to that park when they put in the new playground that's there now. I mean, we're talking the metal slides that were always burning your leg, but you'd still go down them. And I'm pretty sure there was a swing there. I think I used to call it the death swing. You have two people on each end, and somebody was always flying off. But I do thank you for doing that. My kids love going there, as I'm sure a lot of the kids like going to the different parks. Never know which one they're going to choose on what day, but so thank you for doing that legwork, and hopefully we'll start to see some of those improvements coming across, and we'll see what Sedgwick has to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Just one last thought. Will that presentation actually get posted to the city website so anybody can take a look at it? Thank you.
Had that written. Didn't read.
Email.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Next up on our agenda is going to be public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved with a single vote unless removed for separate discussion by the council or city manager. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Just a quick reminder, if you do come up to speak, please make sure you're facing the mic so that we get it on the recording. You guys turn around and talk to an audience member or staff, which we're not supposed to. It doesn't get recorded, and we also have a hard time hearing you up here. So thank you. First item is going to be we have item 7A, register approval, item 7B, minutes approval, item 7C, rezone file RZ-25-01 and general plan amendment, file number GPA-25-01 at 103 South Plymouth Street. I will give this to the pleasure of the council.
Did we hear public comment?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. Is there any public comment regarding any of the items on the agenda or something that is not on the agenda item? It's specifically regarding the register approval, minutes approval, or the 103 South Plymouth, or something that is not on the agenda item.
Hearing none, Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Next item, public hearing. Item A, appeal of conditional use permit denial. Recommended action, adopt resolution approving the appeal filed by the applicant WWCRS Inc., thereby overturning the Planning Commission's denial of the conditional use permit file CUP 25-02. Joe, do you have anything to say on this before I?
Next item, I'm going to let Delaney Garlick from Harrison Associates go over the CUP, and I'll be here to answer questions with her if you guys have any.
You're going to do that on item 9A or right now? Sorry.
No, Delaney will be handling the CUP item,
Okay.
and I'll take the next.
The public.
Gotcha.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before you this evening is an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of a CUP for a commercial retail cannabis dispensary in an existing 1,803 square foot building located at 130 North Butte Street in the Willow Walk Mall, located within a central commercial zoning district. So first, I wanted to provide you with some background on how we got to this point. The Planning Commission hearing was held on August 5th of 2025. During that hearing, staff presented the CUP with a recommendation for approval. The applicant provided details on the operation of the business. The Planning Commission received public testimony, including opposition to the CUP. Upon closing the public hearing, a motion was introduced by Vice Chair Quorum to approve the CUP, and Commissioner Ocampo seconded. However, the motion failed with a tied vote of 2 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 absent, resulting in the denial of the application. Following the vote, the city attorney advised that findings were necessary to support the denial. However, the Planning Commission was unable to provide direction or rationale for the findings. Staff offered to try and draft findings for the opposed commissioners prior to the next Planning Commission hearing. However, on August 12th, 2025, the applicant filed an appeal. The applicant provided 5 findings for the basis of their appeal. To summarize those in their own words, the application met all the criteria for the issuance of a CUP. Number 2, that the project was consistent with the general plan and the City Council's priorities and goals. Number 3, that the Planning Commission did not provide factual findings for their denial. Number 4, the Planning Commission approved a similar CUP with the same zone district and met all the same criteria. And finally, multiple letters of support were included with the CUP. Next. There are 3 required findings that have to be made for conditional use permit approval. Those are that the use is consistent with the purposes of the zone district in which the site is located. 2, that the proposed location of the use and the conditions under which may be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. And finally, 3, that the proposed use is in conformance with the general plan. Planning staff had made these 3 findings with the recommendation for approval. Next. Just to give you a quick analysis, the City of Willow's cannabis ordinance that was recently amended did allow cannabis retail dispensaries to operate in the Central Commercial Zone District, General Commercial Zone District, and Light Industrial Zone through a CUP approval. Previously, these businesses were not permitted in these zones. The application does require a 3-step process. That includes first a review of the preliminary application, which is completed by the city manager. Second, the review of significant information such as detailed business operations, including review and approval of a CUP. And then finally, consideration of the business license by the City Council. The applicant had provided all necessary application materials as detailed in the Cannabis Retail Dispensary Phase 2 application, including security plan, a site plan, floor plan, accessibility evaluation, zoning code compliance, and demonstration of experience in the industry. They also included 16 letters of support for the location and operation of their cannabis dispensary. The application materials demonstrated that the applicant has met all the provisions of the zoning compliance for a use permit to operate the dispensary within the City of Willow's requirements. Next. The proposed location in which the operation is within the Central Commercial Zone District, which does conditionally allow commercial cannabis retail dispensary. Additionally, the location of the business meets the setback regulations per the amended ordinance. The operator demonstrates compliance with the general provisions outlined in Willow's municipal code, including but not limited to hours of operation, odor control measures, security measures, labeling and packaging, inspections, limit on sales, maintenance of licenses and insurance, and accounting of sales. Next. Just to provide you sort of an aerial image, the site does provide on-site parking. It is within the existing structure, and it is surrounded by other commercial zoning and uses. Next. The floor plan here is just to demonstrate that the applicant provided adequate ADA accessibility standards, as well as providing proper security for both the lobby, sales floor, and storage area. And then just in conclusion, the project is deemed exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15301 for existing facilities. The planning staff recommends that City Council approve the appeal of the Planning Commission's and overturn the Planning Commission's denial of the CUP and find that the project is exempt from CEQA. And then just as an administrative note, I wanted to correct condition number 4 in the packet. The last sentence should state attachment 5. But with that, I will stand for any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Thomas, any questions?
Not at this time.
Councilmember Pride?
One of my concerns as we've gone through this process has been we've always reverted back to our 2017 code. There's so much on my mind. as the process has unfolded, I've kind of looked back historically, partly from my own mindset to say, how did we get here? And when I look at the findings, I look at findings 1, 2, and 3 that are in our packet on page, no, we don't have page numbers. But the findings come directly out of our Willows Municipal Code. And they're actually, I mean, the language of our findings is what's written in our code. So every conditional use permit is going to say the exact same verbiage in a conditional use permit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what the code says. So when I look at that as an appeal, I'm not a planning commissioner. I was not at the planning commission meeting. I don't know why the commissioners made decisions they made or not. There was no staff follow-up. As we stated in the staff report, that staff had offered to try and draft findings for the opposed commissioners, and that then the appeal was filed. And so I don't know that that effort was ever made by staff to try to understand, what their thoughts were or what their concerns were. Was anything done?
Councilmember Pride, that's correct. We had been advised, and then with the filing of the appeal, the decision was made to move forth with that appeal. Instead of trying to come back to Planning Commission to provide the commissioners with that, the findings, staff was unable to make those findings. So we were just kind of in this challenging position.
So if I could ask of staff then, so staff apparently, finding 2, staff found that the proposed location of the use and the conditions under which it may be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare. So what did staff rely on specifically? Is that the phase 1 and phase 2 applications?
Councilmember Pride, that is correct. We rely on the information provided in the applications, as well as the items detailed in the cannabis ordinance to help come to that conclusion.
Okay. So in the cannabis ordinance, which again was drafted in 2017, I believe in section 9.20.010, which is findings under Title IX, it does state, make sure I find the right ones. Hang on one second. Well, I'm going to lose it. But essentially, subsection 8 under 9.20.010 says that the City of Willows finds and continues to find that we're concerned about adverse impacts. Finding 9 then says that we need to develop rules and regulations to mitigate that. The next one didn't seem super relevant, but the last one, section 11, said that the development of the effective regulations that we have in our 2017 code, and I emphasize the effective regulations that we have in our 2017 code, are our premise to ensure for our community that we don't have any adverse impacts to public health, safety, or welfare. Now, I would argue that I didn't see demonstrated in the packet that staff looked to see, has anything changed since 2017 in the cannabis industry? We've not tested our regulations that were written in 2017 to even know if they're effective. They're untested. I think that there's, and shame on me as a council member for not thinking of all this, but when you're a new council member and there's a lot of information, it's hard to think of everything. But when I go back specifically to look at these findings, since we are in an appeal situation, the cannabis industry has changed, I would say probably a lot since it first became legalized in California. I would guess, and again, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert here, but I would also guess that a lot of the laws and rules and just the practices have changed a lot since 2017. And I just don't see where city staff, I'll say we as a city, not just staff, but we as council, thought on behalf of our community members to say, let's take a little pause and let's go back and see in 2020, this would have been 24. Let's look and see what new best practices have been implemented in other industries since then. Where are some other model newer ordinances that would say we're getting into the game a little late? So where did we look at this to say, gosh, are we really sure that our code is effective? We don't know. And what's changed? And how do we really do this thing for the best of our community? So shame on me for not, thinking of all that in the moment way back when. So then I start like at, historically, as we've gone through this process, and in my mind, being new to the council for 8 months now, but I was paying attention to some of this. I re-looked at most of the meeting video, and I really did that in the last couple hours this afternoon, and I did it in response to the late additional information that was submitted by WWCRS. So in the WWCRS packet, which I'm always a little bit, I don't have a 3-minute limit, do I?
No, this is
Okay.
questions too. So,
Well, I'm going to make
okay,
my
as
point.
long as we're leading to the question.
We-
Discussion items after public hearing.
Okay, so the question was, did we do any other looking to see if we were implementing best practices?
Yeah, Councilmember Pride, thanks for the question. Definitely what's incorporated into the ordinance and the zoning code itself does imply some public safety requirements, such as we only allow it in specific zone districts. We have required setbacks. We also have hours of operation, odor control, security measures. So all those items, which are kind of the development standards for that use specific cannabis retail dispensary, all that plays into that finding of saying that this is creating public safety through those development standards.
And I'll just preface that from what you just shared with us is that we changed the zoning and we changed the setbacks, and we never changed anything else in our code.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Busby,
No questions.
Councilmember Hanson,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had three questions in reference to the security plan and the rear door access, as well as the delivery, and all of those questions were adequately answered by staff. I do have comments that I will reserve till after the public hearing, Mr. Mayor, but no further questions. Thank you.
with that, I will open it up to public comment.
Good afternoon, Karen Johnson, 831 Madrone Manor. My comment is regarding the aesthetics of the building and what it's going to do for our downtown. I've lived here 4.5 years, and that building has been an eyesore since I've moved here. And if we want to improve our downtown area and we want to bring traffic in and we want to grow the city, is that the look that we want is in this building? And then to add a dispensary in on top of that, is that an improvement for the downtown area of Willows and the aesthetics and what is best for our town long term? Secondly, I'd like to just say that if you look at, and if you're going to defer to the state for any type of oversight or regulations or guidance, please be aware that in the fiscal year of 2023-2024, the Department of Bureau of Cannabis Control handled over 14,000 complaints. So as a city, please plan on handling any enforcement issues yourself, and that you're not going to get any help from the state regarding that, because they're going to already be overloaded with the issues that they're already handling in larger you know the word, thank you, areas, higher density people. So anyhow, that's the only thing I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor. Mayor.
Yes.
So I was a little remiss. This is a public hearing. Generally speaking, the respondent or the applicant has an opportunity to speak before the general public, and the applicant has made feel that speak before there is further.
Okay. You know what? I'm sorry, and I did not open this up correctly to a public hearing. Sorry. No, because I actually am supposed to be opening up to public hearing. I lapsed on my sheet here. So yes, you will speak first, and then I'll open it up to a public hearing.
Thank you. So my name is Scott Candell. I'm with the applicant. I am an attorney, and for disclosure, I'm also on the city council for my city. We're a small city, a little bit bigger than Willows, but still relatively small. And we did our rotation of, I did the vice mayor and the mayor, back to council at this point. One of my lessons is the importance of volunteers. And I don't mean just the city council, but the planning commission as well. I know we are disputing the findings of the planning commission, but I just want to make sure that the planning commission understands that we do appreciate them volunteering and taking the time to hear this case, because it is an important part of having a small city able to function. The other thing I've learned is the importance of staff. That for myself sitting on council, it's so nice that staff does such a thorough job and prepares things for us so that we have all the information. And in this particular situation, staff did a phenomenal job. We've been working with staff from the beginning. We've gone through the phase 1, the phase 2. We were informed there was a potential issue because we changed companies. So we worked with staff to fix that. Again, I submitted a letter on that, but it was done basically for the benefit of both the city and us, for transparency, so we could make sure everything was clear, the money that was going to be paid to the city, and not be confused with another business that was being run by that same company. Then we had our hearing before the Planning Commission, and staff again did a phenomenal job doing their research, and they presented to the Planning Commission that their recommendation was that it be approved. And they went through all the reasons that the applicant had met all the criteria that were required, was in complete compliance, had done everything the city had asked them to do, and that they should get a CUP. The Planning Commission denied the CUP. And when that happened, as was explained, the city attorney did a wonderful job and explained to the Planning Commission, you can't actually just deny a CUP. You have to have some kind of findings, like a reason. Otherwise, it's arbitrary and capricious, and you can't do that. And the Planning Commission couldn't find anything that was not in compliance. And the remedy for that is the appeal, which is why we're here now. So the staff, again, did a thorough job, presented a staff report explaining this to council, that yes, the applicant had complied with everything. They met all the criteria, and that the Planning Commission denial should be overturned and the CUP should be awarded. At this point, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that I did read a petition, that there were a number of people who were against a cannabis dispensary, and I completely understand that. And I appreciate that as part of the democratic process. We want to hear from everybody. And I also know this was a contentious issue with council, that it was not unanimous, and that there are always people, cannabis is usually contentious, and there are people for it and against it. And the council has a robust discussion and hears public comment, and decides what it feels is best for the community. And I believe that's what happened here, and the ordinance was passed. At this point, the council is in their quasi-judicial role of not revisiting the issue. Is cannabis good? Is cannabis bad? Should we change the ordinance? Should we go back to a 2017 ordinance? Is there something that we should do to change the ordinance to make it more modern? That's not on the agenda today. What is on the agenda today, and especially with this particular agenda item, is very clear. It's an appeal of the Planning Commission decision. The Planning Commission denied this without having the required findings. And as was explained, the responsibility of the council is just to say, was that right or was that not right? And obviously my position is that they should not have done that. And it is the responsibility of the council to overturn that and to grant the appeal, which is what is being explained or recommended by staff. And I believe if you ask the city attorney, he would say the same thing. With that, I am going to ask if, with the permission of the council, to have the applicant have an opportunity to come up and speak to the council as well. And we will I'll be here to answer any questions that you have, to make you feel comfortable or to understand or answer any questions that you have. Okay, thank you very much for taking the time listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, do I need to open it to public hearing before she
Well,
speaks?
Mayor, you should allow the respondent, the applicants, the opportunity to speak. And that would be
Okay.
the council's opportunity to ask specific questions of the applicant
Okay.
for opening.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure I was following the rules because I was.
Couple things happening at one time. I appreciate the reading the letter that had been forwarded earlier today. And what I'm trying to understand is the CUP appeal will be decided first, and then the moving forward, it will be the council to decide on the application itself. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So if there's any questions, if not, I mean, definitely have comments for the application review. So I can hold those comments until that time after the conditional use permit's been finalized.
At council, I'd recommend limiting any comments and questions you have to the applicant at this point to be strictly.
So is there any questions from the council regarding the conditional use permit?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No.
I'm not seeing any at this time.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I will open up to public hearing, public comment, public hearing at 7:01. Is there any further public?
We have Manuel
Chris?
Trado.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and members of the public who took time to come out tonight. My name is Manuel Tredo. I work as a commercial property manager. I have been visiting local businesses to get their take on having 2 dispensaries downtown. At first, I thought I was going to get thrown out of their businesses for talking about a controversial issue. But I quickly realized that no, that's not the case. Most merchants actually support this, the idea of having it downtown. They feel that it will bring people downtown, and in essence, they will get more customers. Tonight, I want to share a little food for thought with you about dispensaries in close proximity, since this is the case of having 2 dispensaries downtown. Having 2 dispensaries located close to each other may seem counterintuitive, but cannabis clusters provide benefits for businesses, customers, and the economy. This phenomenon is known as clustering, is common in many retail sectors, such as coffee shops, clothing, doctor's offices, car dealerships, etc., as they benefit from increased foot traffic and customer convenience. This clustering allows them to attract more customers by offering a variety of choices with competitive pricing. Powerful symbiotic relationships that benefit both customers and adjacent businesses. 2 permitted central commercial dispensaries will affect the following: increased pedestrian and vehicle traffic to the central commercial zone, create synergy with adjacent businesses, increasing customer spending in Willows, encourage new central commercial openings and reduce closures, boost tourism and increase local business revenue, provide a convenient access for seniors and disabled persons, assure superior customer experience, improve product variety and availability, normalize public acceptance, prioritize the central commercial area, improve security, facilitate ease of police patrols to one specific commercial zone, and simplify compliance monitoring by city and code enforcement. For these reasons, I highly recommend that you approve WWCRS as a legal permitted dispensary in Willows, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lonnie Cleveland.
Hi, thank you. It's a privilege to be here today. My name is Lainey Cleveland. and I'm here seeking your support to open WWCRS. I've been working with Anna and her brother Jorge, who are going to be the managers. Anna is the manager, excuse me, for years, and we are firm believers that a successful business is one that becomes an integral part of the community it serves. If you approve our license, I want you to know that our commitment will go beyond simply opening our doors. We will become a true partner in this town. From day one, we will make it our mission to invest directly in the well-being of this community. This won't be a one-time thing. It will be a foundational part of our business model. We are committed to donating a portion of our profits to local charities. We plan to sponsor local sports teams. Anybody who will take our money, honestly, we believe in supporting the community. Providing financial support. Our employees who will be your neighbors will be encouraged to volunteer their time at places like the local food bank or on park cleanup days. Our goal is simple, to be a good neighbor. We believe that a business should contribute to the shared spaces and common causes that make this town special. If you grant us this opportunity, we will prove that a new dispensary can be a positive force in this town. We will create jobs, generate tax revenue, and most importantly, provide a reliable partner for community organizations. We are not just seeking to open a business. We are asking for the chance to forge deep community ties and to demonstrate that this industry can operate with integrity, responsibility, and a deep commitment to giving back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie Wetch.
Thank you for helping us with that.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Leslie, and I am a cannabis advocate and educator. The reason I am both of those things is because, more importantly, I am also a cannabis patient, and cannabis literally saved my life. I will not bore you with my medical history, but I'm not exaggerating when I say that the only reason I'm sitting here in front of you right now is because of cannabis. Obviously, I have limited mobility. I'm old. I don't drive. And having dispensaries in my town, it helps a lot because they're legal and the products that I'm buying in there are tested. I know they're safe. I know that when I go to these places that I will be safe. I have never been to a legal cannabis dispensary where I have felt like I was in danger. What I have witnessed is that dispensaries uplift their neighborhoods. They spark revitalization in downturned neighborhoods. I've seen it. I have been shocked sometimes at the people that I know in the industry are opening places in neighborhoods that I would question, and you go there a year later and the neighborhood is transformed. These are good community citizens. I have been working with them as an advocate, as a volunteer in these campaigns for a long, long time. One thing that I think a lot of people don't understand about cannabis is that it's not all about THC. It's not all about getting high. There are more than 100 cannabinoids that have been identified in the plant. CBD is another one that gets a lot of press. I know children who were literally zombies with clouded eyes, drooling, unable to function, with seizure disorders who were put on CBD and THC protocols, who are now running around like normal children, having seizures very, very rarely when before they were seizing all day. I control pain with cannabis. I have a couple of painful autoimmune disorders, and I wouldn't be sane if I did not have that pain relief. You can buy balms, you can buy edibles, gummies, and they aren't all cannabis, or THC rather. You get CBD, you CBN, CBGA. There are so many cannabinoids that are so beneficial to our well-being. And another misconception that I think a lot of people have about dispensaries is that they bring an unsavory element to your neighborhood. Come on, do I look unsavory? And you see a lot of people like me at dispensaries. You see professionals, you see nurses, doctors, you see teachers, and my time is up.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stefan Crespo. Good timing.
Since I'm up,
It just happened to work out that way. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Hudson, Vice Mayor Thomas, the great City Council members, and the citizens of Willows who have taken their valuable time to participate, along with our veterans. My name is Stefan Crespo Sharkey. I'm an employee of our micro business down in Sacramento. I understand that the city has approved one dispensary in the downtown area, and I'm here in support of the WWCRS dispensary. The city of Willows can use cannabis revenue as discretionary funds, like allocating it into the general fund. It may include various services, including youth programs, public health initiatives, and community services. WWCRS Inc. has also proposed a 5% city revenue share. In addition, the WWCRS retail dispensary provides the creation of new higher wage employment opportunities for local residents. Additionally, jobs will be created in support services, including private security, transportation, logistics, accounting, maintenance, and construction. These are all going to be involved in the process. Tourism is also going to increase as well. And this influx of visitors is going to boast the vibrancy and the diversity of local tourism and the revenue of nearby businesses. From cafes to local retail, various sectors benefit from the increased traffic and consumer spending. The increase in spending is usually seen from a 5 to 10% in sales, particularly to restaurants and retail spaces. These are all staples of a thriving downtown. And WWCRS anticipates that this projected increase in sales is going to be higher. Overall, WWCRS strives to create a location that gives back to the city and its citizens through revenue, education, and assisting in forming the lattice for a downtown to grow and thrive from. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Shirley Benningfield. Good evening.
I'd like to start off by reading a letter from local business owner Holly Myers, and you had this in your last packet. Dear Mayor Hudson and members of the City Council, regarding appeal CUP 2502, public hearing and issuance of cannabis dispensary license. When a small town depends on dispensaries because of a money shortfall, it is selling out its values for short-term gain. Don't make an extremely short-sighted decision. The potential of allowing this use in our downtown ignores the questions of health, safety, and community character, as noted in the city's municipal code. And this is the one that Lori referenced, section 929.20.10, section 8. The City Council of the City of Willows has recognized and continues to recognize the potential adverse impacts on the health, safety, and welfare of its residents and business from secondary effects associated with commercial cannabis activity, which include offensive odors, trespassing, theft, violent encounters between growers and persons attempting to steal plants, fire hazards, increased crime in and about points of sale, robberies of customers, negative impacts on nearby businesses, nuisance problems, and increased DUI incidents. While cannabis dispensaries present themselves as legitimate businesses, their integrity is often questionable. The reliance on cash for the potential of rule bending, the health risk of their products, and the focus on profit over public safety all create significant risks for our community. Realize that regulation does not guarantee adherence to the law. While dispensaries are regulated, enforcement can be inconsistent and many skirt the laws. Dispensaries do not sell to underage buyers, and the financial incentive is to encourage repeat use, even if it means normalizing dependency in small towns. A decision to allow marijuana to be sold in the CC district will cause community division, ignoring the community's values, moral objections, and cultural concerns will only reinforce the already unstable trust in our city's leadership. Cannabis dispensaries will cause an irreparable reputation shift for Willows. When the town's identity becomes centered on selling alcohol, cannabis, and cheap tobacco, it speaks loudly about the priorities of the community. When a small town builds its reputation on alcohol, cannabis, and cheap tobacco, families stop seeing it as a place to raise children. We should be building a safe, healthy community of opportunity, not one that sells out our future. The community listened and reluctantly voted in favor of a sizable sales tax increase. Is my time up?
Is that?
Oh, yes,
I don't
I'm
know.
sorry.
Is that?
I was,
Okay. I just, one more comment. There was a petition that was circulated and we got almost 400 signatures from members of the public in opposition to having a second cannabis dispensary in our town. And I think that should say something. I mean, the people of this town, even though a lot of them didn't come to this meeting, a lot of them told us that we shouldn't even have approved one dispensary, let alone two. And I want to reference a website for all of you to look at. It's a scorecard. They score cities. They score over 320 cities in California. And the city of Willows, the score for them, because this was before January 1st of 2024, before you redid the ordinance. The name of this is gettingitRightFromTheStart.org. And it is, they scored cities, and Willows came out with a score of 7 out of a possible 100 for their cannabis ordinance. So not good, folks. I mean, we did not score well on that. And one more thing, the conditions, the CUP condition number 2, that is not detrimental to the public health, that simply isn't true. This same scorecard, they brought out some things here, just a couple more things I want to say here. New data is showing increases in harmful patterns of cannabis use, including a tripling of our daily or near daily use by California adults and a near doubling of cannabis use during pregnancy and over the past decade. Cannabis, this one here is very important. Cannabis-related emergency department visits among older adults increased 70% in just 4 years, from 2015 to 19. And as all of you know, we will no longer have an emergency room as of the end of this month.
Thank
So
you.
I want you to think about that and before you vote. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that is it. Is there anyone that did not fill out a card? Okay. As there has been adequate opportunity for public to be heard, I close the hearing to further public comment at this time at 7:18. At this point, I will ask if the board has any further comments or questions regarding item 8A.
Mr. Mayor, when I read the application and its volume, I've got over 500 pages with regard to this. And I see what the planning commission did, and they could not find a reason for the denial. It seems to me that we have put one vote, and that would be to approve the CUP based on there is no finding where they have not violated or they have met the needs and the requirements of our municipal code.
Councilor Pride, comments, questions?
So for me, for tonight, and I'm sure for all of us, it's trying to keep the public hearing for the appeal separate from a potential second item. So under the appeal, and I'm going to refer to Delaney, if the appeal is approved tonight, the existing conditions of approval in our package would also be approved.
Councilmember Pard, that is correct.
So if we have any additions, comments, or anything about these conditions, now would be the time to raise those.
Yes, the council does have the right to add, edit, or delete any conditions of approval at this time and include it in their motion.
I'll just add to that too, that the second item has the ability for you guys to add contingent conditions to it as well.
But if there's questions on the 56 conditions that are here, we should clarify those at this point. Is that a good statement?
Correct.
Okay. So I do have some questions and it may bounce a little bit here. So I don't think everyone has theirs, but there are a proposed 56 conditions of approval associated with this conditional use permit. Condition 1, the very last sentence says that any future proposal for storefront retailer related use, such as delivery, shall be subject to a separate review. Now, we're speaking specifically tonight about WWCRS. And the last thing I saw that was submitted approximately 7 days prior to going to the Planning Commission is that they are intending to do delivery service. Is that correct? Or is it a future use? It wasn't clear in the application to me as I read it. They've said numerous times it's a future use in their business plan. And then staff asked them shortly before the August 5th Planning Commission meeting, give us all your protocols and processes to comply with code for delivery. So the question I had tonight is, are they doing delivery at the beginning of their business or is it a future possible activity?
The beginning of the business.
At the beginning. So if it's at the beginning of the business, then I don't see any reason for us to confuse our conditions of approval to use such as delivery as something that would be subject to separate review. Now, I do notice in your business plan that you intend to have an education center. So that education center, is that something that's going to be within your existing structure or is that going to be some future use? And this, I mean, again, I've had the same 500 pages of stuff that Vice Mayor Thomas has. And I believe you've said that all along in your package, but I've never seen anywhere in your plans where that education center is going to be. Is it going to be where your product's being sold? Is it going to be, I mean,
Because this is being recorded, would it be okay if somebody
Yes, they can
from
come
the
up and
applicant
answer
came
the
and spoke
question.
into the
so
microphone?
yeah, that's,
Is that
I mean,
okay?
if that's fine with protocol.
Well, yes, if there's going to be any answers from the applicant, they should be speaking into the microphone.
Well,
So it's
maybe,
captured for the administrative record.
yeah. And the reason I'm asking this question is, you know, condition 1 says any future proposal, but I mean, it's not clear in my mind based on the application. I mean, is that being done? There was no emphasis put on it. It wasn't addressed in any of the site plans. And so I didn't know if that was something you're going to come back for or do it now.
Good afternoon, council members, mayor. So the reason why it's not in the plan, it's because it's not going to be like a huge education centers. There's about 10% of the customers that really need that extra help. So on the sales floor, and we should have drawn out kind of where the display cases were going to be, but on the sales floor to the right side, there's going to be, it's wide open. And it's before you exit the door, it's kind of got its own privacy in the corner. We plan to put a table there, have iPads so that we can show with the customer to educate them because it's not going to be like a huge education. It's going to be one-on-one with customers like Lainey's mom and other customers that need that extra care.
Okay.
So it's not something that we're going to dedicate the room to. It's going to be on the side, and when the customer needs it, we will have it available. And that's probably why you didn't see it on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
And sir, if you could state your name and microphones for the administrative record.
My name is George Espinoza.
Thank you, sir.
So I would think on condition 1, we might want to look at changing the language. It just says any future proposal for storefront retailer / delivery that is not included in the approved operating plan.
We can add that language.
Okay. Under odor control condition 6, the condition says that cannabis business shall work with the building official or his designee. Does the building official actually have the ability to just assign anyone else to do that? Or is it just the building official or revert up to, you know, city manager or someone? That's a little bit vague in terms of who can actually make decisions on things that they're doing.
Yeah, so that would be who our official building a building official is or designee. So I would take that to mean as a designee, as the authority of the city, the Willows City Municipal Code reads. I don't know if the city attorney can add to that, but I don't think there's any inherent designee. It's kind of similar to language that you would see on a grant resolution for a city manager, or their designee would be an official designee appointed by the council themselves.
I'm thinking at code enforcement as we go through these conditions, and if the building official is going to enforce condition 6, but somebody else is going to enforce another condition, I'm looking at this from a city perspective of, this is all going to be new to all of us, and who's on first and who's on second in terms of, responding to complaints. So we've asked the question before, who is the code enforcer? And it's kind of well, it depends. It might be our fire chief, it might be our building official, it might be, someone else. And so there's, for the community's concern respect, I think it's very important that we're clear in our conditions. So we have a building official here. Maybe because the building official is sometimes our code enforcement person, maybe we reference code enforcement.
So, just to comment on the building official piece. So as you are aware, I think the council's all aware that we started out with Wyatt Paxton, and currently Nick Paxton is the building official for the city. But it's really, we're contracting with a firm. And so when you contract with a firm, sometimes different people step in, and Wyatt is still in a capacity to step in if for some reason his employee Nick isn't able to do code enforcement. So I think that's why we have the building official or his or her designee. It allows for that because we have a contractor who actually provides that service.
Well, so we have a contractor. So that's going to show work with the contracted building official. I mean, that's going to change all the time. So
Well,
the designee.
Yes.
Just for clarity, so the condition is the designated building official, be it be a city employee or a contracted individual providing that service, is going to be responsible for enforcing condition 6. The or designee language allows that individual, be it be the city employed building official or the vendor or the contractor who is performing that service, to designate a comparable qualified individual to do the enforcement for them.
I think I would be more comfortable with these conditions if we actually had a city employee designated and not just a contractor who can continually designate whomever to do it. I think I would prefer to see this be a city department head. They can certainly, they'd be the one responsible under this condition. If we have a contractor now, we're managing contractors and their designees. So my thought would be that we make sure that this is a city employee and not a contractor,
Well,
because they
can I-
change.
and
Step in and ask a quick question real quick. Is the language we're discussing right now any different than any other building that we have in the city of Willows? Or is this the same that it would be for any building or any business, to where it'd be the same building inspector or have the same language about the building inspector that would be doing these inspections and keeping it up? I mean, if it was a bar, would we be wanting to have a special person doing that, or would we be using the same person that we use for every building inspection?
Be using the same or similar
Okay.
language that's here. That's correct.
And my point in this is that this is cannabis. This is new. There are numerous community concerns. We do not do a good job with code enforcement across the board. I think it's important that we specify throughout this document who's responsible, and it should be a city person, not a contractor who changed. This is my opinion. You guys can throw me out, but
If I can note that the previous cannabis CUP has the same language.
And
So
I
if we're
think
going to
I'm-
modify this one, we're going to have 2 cannabis dispensaries with different people responsible for that condition.
if I remember it, I can go back. I asked questions on the last one too, and I got pat answers that didn't really address my concerns. So I'm going to try again to bring them up. And I'm speaking to represent the people who elected me, the people who've spoken intensely to me. And I'm trying to, as I think I always try to do, I try to look at both sides of the issue and weigh what I think is going to be best. So I'll try to move forward just a little bit faster. Condition 16 and condition 21 are somewhat contradictory. I brought this up under the last CUP. I doubt it was changed. 16 says that we're going to inform the city manager in writing of any change to any of the information submitted to the city in phase 1 or phase 2, any renewal application or any amendments thereto within 10 days of any such change, including but not limited to any change in ownership of 5% or more in a single transaction or cumulatively. Now here it just says that the permittee, the holder of the conditional use permit, only needs to inform the city manager within 10 days of a change, meaning they can just make that change and just let the city know, hey, we made a change. Doesn't say the city has to approve that change. And when you drop down to condition 21, a retail dispensary cannabis business license is non-transferable to another person, entity, or location, and no such transfer may be made except in accordance with this section. Any such transfer made without the prior consent of the City of Willows shall result in the revocation of the license. Any change in ownership of 5% or more, singly or cumulatively, shall be considered a change in ownership. So in 16, it says a change in ownership. You just have to tell the city within 10 days. But down in 21, if they do that, and they don't get approval beforehand, they're going to get suspended or revoked. So those, I believe, are in conflict with each other. Are we suspending them, or can they just do it and tell us later? Or they wait 10 days and tell us, and then we suspend or revoke them because they didn't ask permission first. I believe there's a conflict.
Yeah, I believe how that reads, Councilmember Pride, is that in condition 21, if they do not provide that notification within 10 days, then we have the right to revocation. Condition 16 is notifying the applicant that they need to let us know of any change. And it is up to the City of Willows to provide consent to that change.
Okay, so the 16 says inform the city manager in writing of any change of or to any of the information. It doesn't say prior to making that change. It just says tell them when you make a change. And I apologize for a lot of you. I read all of this stuff and I think about what it means and I try to make sure that it makes sense. And I always think if I don't understand it, maybe somebody else doesn't understand it. So I'm going to take the time tonight to ask the questions that I think the public wants me to ask. While you're pondering that,
I think one, it's speaking specifically to the transfer of 5% or more, where the notification includes the transfer, but also talks about changes to information submitted in the phase 1 or 2 applications or renewal application. So it's kind of all encumbering. Whereas 21 is speaking specifically to the transfer of 5% or more and seeking the City of Willows authority to do that. So you kind of, I guess there would be a contradictory, maybe a potential you could think it was contradictory with that language that says, but not limited to any change in ownership or 5% or more in a single transaction, as that's kind of spoken to in 21. Is that what, like if we eliminated that?
I think if you eliminated the last part of 16 and didn't reference change of ownership there at all and dealt with it exclusively in 21,
would be a little cleaner.
That would be, in my mind, it would not be
You're-
confusing.
You're muddying the waters between what a private business can do and what a government entity can do.
I'm
The
looking
private-
at it.
The private business can transfer the ownership, right? So they can go ahead and do that. They have to give us 10 days of notice. If they don't notify us within 10 days, then we take action on 21. If they notify us before that, we can still take action on 21 and revoke their business license, but it doesn't change the fact that that business can transfer 5% of its ownership to a different partner at any time because that's how private businesses ran. That's how I look at it. So I understand how it looks like it's a conflict, but I do not see it as a conflict.
I mean, 21 to me is clear. They can't do it without the prior consent of the City of Willows. And so if a business entity under this condition of approval, so regardless of whether you're in the private sector and you can do whatever you want to with your business, we're talking about the conditions of approval to manage this new venture we're all going down called retail cannabis dispensaries. And to me, it's not an issue. If they know in their condition that if I want to make a change of ownership, I'm going to reach out to the city and I'm going to say, I'm going to do this. And they're going to have it all looked at and talked about. And then they're going to go on their merry way and do it when it's approved, as opposed to doing it and then coming and saying, hey, city, I did it. And then the city, for some reason, looks back at the other conditions and says, well, we don't approve that. Well, they've already done it. So to me, I mean, this is a stuff.
In which case the city can say you no longer have a business license to operate in the city of Willows, but in this case, the corporation would still exist.
Well, we're not saying they can't. No. I've said what I'm going to say. If nobody else agrees with me, then nobody else agrees with me.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to clarify how I look at it.
Well, so the language for you, you can read the language and say it works. So let's use as an example what actually happened. Native A LLC went through phase 1 and phase 2, and then midstream made the financial decision essentially to change to a corporation.
Right.
So if that had happened after they had their license and they hadn't gotten approval for that first, because it's separate entities, and this is where, again, we have to define change of ownership. If you're changing from a limited liability company to an actual C corporation, is that a change of ownership if the principles are the same, or do the principles change? And we're starting to go down a path that I don't think we as city people deal with all the time, right? It's just a new thing. So,
well, they'd have to get a different business license under the new name at that point.
and
so
then would that
it
require a
wouldn't
new
be-
phase 1 and a new
Yeah.
phase 2
But
and
it
a
doesn't,
whole application?
it doesn't change the fact though that they would still have that corporation and legally did the transfer of power. We have their attorney in this audience. I don't know his take, or we have Andrew. I don't know their take on legalness of what I'm saying, or if it's making sense to anyone, or how you guys interpreted that portion of it, at least.
You know what? I'm going to say I understand the conflict that you're saying, and I would agree that if we struck the last portion of 16, as Councilmember Pride is saying, it would clear this up. Only because if we do have a change in ownership, we're going to come to the city first. So all that does is clarify that. I don't have a problem with that if that's what the council wants to do.
Thank you. So what I heard was agreement from the applicant that striking the last portion of 16 would be acceptable.
Starting
And
within
council,
10
I just,
days.
I just
Whatever
point out,
grammatically makes sense.
council, and I just would like to point out, I understand that Councilmember Pride, these are your concerns, but any amendments to the conditional use permit would have to be a decision of the whole board, of the
Correct.
council.
So
So
if we're capturing some consensus, then at least we can make a
so
motion and
any
try and
amendments
please it.
to will have to be captured any moved vote from the majority of council.
Okay.
Thank you. Condition 13, I missed one. And that just talks about maintaining all required insurance. And so if you are commencing delivery operations right away, we've not seen any automobile insurance in the application, only the general liability. So per our code, it does require comprehensive automobile liability insurance. And I did not see that anywhere in the packet that's been provided to us tonight. So that would just be a follow-up item that we need that. The other question, and I made a note to myself, should we make it a condition of approval? In the city application, and one of the forms that is signed, the city's asking for the revenue sharing portion to be paid monthly to the city within 10 days at the end of the month. But in the revenue sharing document provided in the application, the applicant stated they would provide that quarterly. So there's a discrepancy between one form the applicant signed saying they were technically agreeing to monthly payments, but then the revenue sharing document that you submitted said quarterly. So I thought it'd be good to clear that up tonight. Are we going to stick to requesting monthly, or are we going to go with the applicant's proposal of quarterly payments?
I would recommend monthly to keep it in line with the other application, CUP.
Okay.
That
So-
was a document that was asked for clarification purposes, as they hadn't included it on the revised application. So I'd asked for a paragraph stating what revenue percentage was, and that's where that other date came. So if it's
So I think if we don't clarify that in a condition or something tonight, then that's going to be a continued ambiguity in the application itself that we'd have to go back and say, well, we said a quarterly and you didn't say no, but then you said monthly. And so for the sake of clarity, I would like to see that as a condition. And again, it's just me. And lastly, not lastly, two more, sorry. Condition 37, any changes in hours, days, or operating procedures must be reported to the community development director. And because it's a condition of the hours you can operate, I don't think reported to is appropriate verbiage. It needs to be approved by, because otherwise we're just saying you can change your hours and just let us know. And it kind of conflicts with the other condition that I think lays out the approved operating hours for the business. And these are under building department. So under condition 42, just prior to issuance of a building permit for the construction of any structures on the site. I didn't see anywhere in the proposal that we're building any new buildings. We're doing renovations. So do we need to have this condition when we're not building anything new? Or should it be more clear to state prior to issuance of a building permit for any renovations of the existing building, we need to have all these things? And all these things are already pretty clearly outlined in all the other part
38
of the application. I personally, I just don't like reading things that have redundancies or conflicting things when this is what we're going to be holding our applicant to, if ultimately approved for a license. So I'm going to say those are my last questions or.
Okay.
And,
I would-
and
yeah.
I'm going to preface that by saying for the appeal.
Of course. Thank you, Councilmember Pride. Councilmember Busby, any questions?
No question.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure most, if not all of our audience understands the role of the council tonight. I was going to bring a couple of props, but I decided probably wouldn't. And I was going to bring two hats. Okay. I've got a City of Willows hat and I've got a family business hat. I guess, okay, just for the audience, but I figured that'd be kind of dumb. Right? So anyway, the council tonight is sitting as a quasi-judicial body in reference to the appeal from the Planning Commission. Scott Kendrell, the attorney for the applicant. Scott, I agree 100% with your comments. I'm going to call you Scott. Is that okay? And everything you said is absolutely accurate. And you stole my thunder. I was going to say the same thing. So let's start out with this isn't the time to discuss changes to the ordinance or what we think about the ordinance or what we feel about the ordinance. We are strictly sitting as an appellate body in reference to the appeal from the applicant and the Planning Commission. And just so the audience is fully aware, council members are fully aware, as Vice Mayor Thomas pointed out, we have 500 pages in front. I've read every page. I always read every page of every issue that comes before us, usually twice. I did not read this twice, but I read every page once. This application is complete and thorough. It follows our very comprehensive City of Willows cannabis ordinance that was crafted in 2017. I was on the council then, and we crafted that ordinance. It took a lot of time and energy with consultation from our very competent attorneys as well, following state law. For not only to follow state law, but also for protection of our community, for the protection of our citizens. I was proud of the final outcome of that ordinance. I voted for that ordinance. You most likely, I know staff does, and my colleagues know my position on cannabis. Okay, that has no bearing on my purpose here tonight as sitting as the appellate body. Okay, I'm a reasonable, objective man. I understand. I comprehend things. Okay, my opinions, my views, my professional experience in the past has no bearing on any comments or any opinions I have in reference to this appeal. I appreciate Councilmember Pride's comments. I don't see, although we'll discuss this in the very near future, but if there are some slight modifications that need to be made to the CUP, then fine. Whatever needs to be done to make it to clean it up completely. But I went through this application with a fine-tooth comb. I found absolutely no reason why this matter shouldn't be approved tonight in reference to the appeal. That's my conclusion so far. We're still having our discussion. Our public hearing, as you know, has ended. So just as a reminder, uh, I encourage everyone in the audience to remain for the following item, which is item 9A under the discussion action calendar, where we're going to be discussing the business license if this matter if the planning commission decision is reversed. The planning commission decision died on it was denied on a technicality basically, but it was denied because legally that's how it works when you have a 2-2 vote. There was one absent. We have 5 members of the planning commission. I appreciate the planning commission. I really appreciate their dedication to the community and their service to the community. However, the planning commission got this wrong on the vote, in my opinion. There were no findings, as has been mentioned before. As Mr. Cantrell pointed out, and has been stated here earlier, the planning commission's role is to review the application in order to see if it follows municipal and state, federal law, ordinance, zoning. Is the application complete? Is the business satisfy the requirements, all of the requirements? Yes or no? And if no, then findings must be made. The planning commission made no findings. So right there, that nullifies any reversal. Any denial in my mind if no findings are made. And like I say, I appreciate the planning commissioners. I'm not berating the planning commission. I'm appreciate what they do and their sacrifice of time. But with no findings, I can't I can't support the planning commission's decision. And there was one member absent that night, so there were 4 planning commissioners. But again, the application is complete. As I stated earlier, I had 3 questions. All 3 questions have been answered. I'm heavy on security issues with my 2 careers, agriculture, as I said earlier, and law enforcement. A long time, my life in law enforcement. So I am satisfied with this application, and I see no reason why this matter should not be reversed on appeal tonight. And those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I just had one comment or question that was brought up. Councilmember Pride kind of brought it to my attention was that if there is delivery, she was right. There is no business auto policy to that. So with that, I would say that if there's a way for us to get a copy of the entire policy that you sent us, because I do know in some of those commercial policies, they do include hired and non-owned inside that policy. So if you don't own the vehicle, you're still covered for that. Just so that the city can make sure that, those insurance requirements are being met. But with that, I will leave it to the pleasure of the council. Unless, Rick, you have anything to ask
Well,
or add?
Mr. Hanson was more eloquent in his statement than what I said when I looked at the application and found no reason to not approve it. So thank you for your further explanation, because that's the same conclusion I came to, but you were a little bit more eloquent and how you presented it. So
No, thank you, Rick.
with that, I would move the resolution of the City Council, of the City of Willows, granting the appeal and approving conditional use permit number CUP 25-02 for a retail dispensary cannabis business operated by WWCRS Inc. for the property located at 130 North Butte Street, assessors parcel number 003044005 within the central commercial zone be approved.
Okay. There's a second.
Is that with modification for?
I would like to propose some modifications if you'd be open to hearing my proposed modifications.
I would be.
All right. So with the motion to approve, with all the verbiage of the approval, I would move to modify the conditions of approval as follows. Condition number 1, modify the last sentence to read, any future proposal for storefront related use that is not included in their phase 1 or phase 2 application shall be subject to further review. Condition number 6, instead of building official or his designee, I would suggest that we change that to the city code enforcement official. Condition 16, I would recommend striking the last sentence beginning between the word change and the word including. And I'm looking to Delaney just to make sure she's kind of keeping up. Condition 37, I would change reported to say approved by. Condition 42, I would suggest to modify that it would read, instead of construction of any structures on the site, that it would read remodeling or rehabilitation of, structural work. I'm not too picky about the language, but just so it's true to improvements or modifications to the structure. And lastly, that we add another condition that revenue sharing is a monthly payment.
Just to add on 42 regarding modification, altering, I think that's covered on number 38.
So do we even need 42?
42 would cover any new structures built on the premises.
Yeah, but the premises are kind of a corner lot that already has a building. So I guess if it burns down, are you talking about if it burns down, we're going to build a new
If they
one?
wanted to build a shed, if they wanted to build any
There's
excess.
nowhere to build the shed there. They're already taking up their full.
Yeah, it's just a
footprint.
precautionary piece that I don't think hurts in
All
case
right.
there is something that's built, but it's up to you guys to decide.
I'm resistant to having conditions that don't make sense in the conditions of
Just the
approval.
modification, I feel you'd be kind of doubling over 38 if you chose to make it. So I would say, it doesn't hurt to keep it, but if you wanted to remove the whole thing instead of altering it to repeat number 38.
Well, council, if I may, I read condition 38 as being a catch-all provision for any construction activity on the premises or on the parcel would require a building permit. And that construction activity includes construction, altering, moving, and the demolition of any structure or article of the property. That's your catch-all provision, require them to go through the building permit process. Item condition 42 drills down is a more specific requirement in the event that there is a construction on that site. For instance, there was a demolition of the existing building and they now decide to build a new one. They are now required under condition 42 to submit the final lighting plan. So I read these two as actually being harmonious, and to me, they make sense. I don't know if the applicants have different interpretation of
There's already, in the phase 2 and in the submittal requirements, there's already lighting plans and everything they have to adhere to. So then are we going to make sure this conforms with exactly what they've said they're going to do in their phase 2 application?
Well, I believe that phase 2 applies to the existing structure. And this, like I said, I read this as being a more specific condition in the event that the existing structure is significantly altered or removed.
I'm not going to lose sleep over this one because I think we're just covering our bases for something that's ridiculous to spend this much time talking about. So I will amend my motion and we won't do anything to condition 42.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with council and Mr. Betancourt's assessment of 38 and 42, just for information, covers all bases. Thank you.
Sorry, did you have one more on there, Lori? Or are you good?
Those were
That was it? Okay.
1637.
I suppose it would be up to me who made the motion to accept those changes.
It would.
I would accept those changes except for item 6. So we don't have to, condition 6, leaving that with the building official. So we don't have a conflict with the existing approval.
I agree. I agree to 1, 16, and then 30 hours of operation
37. And then adding for the monthly payments, you're good with that one?
and adding monthly payments as well. Yeah.
And I'm good.
With that, I would accept the.
And I'm
modification.
satisfied with that.
So we're in agreement with those changes?
Need a second.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? City
Yes.
manager.
I just wanted to say that I'd like to recommend to the council that if whatever you finally end up approving with these amendments, that we bring back the other dispensary conditions of approval and apply any new conditions to those as well for approval before the council to make sure that it's consistent. Both dispensaries have the same conditions of approval, and I think it's in the best interest of both applicants as well as the city that they're the same.
Absolutely.
Absolutely agree.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just in reference to discussion, is staff clear on the amendment changes?
Staff is clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Of course. All right. With that, I believe this needs to be a roll call vote.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Busby,
Yes.
Councilmember Pride,
Yes.
um, Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And motion passed 5-0. With that, I would like to take a quick 5-minute recess, starting at 7:55, and we'll return at 8.
Think so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Much needed.
I know the next one.
Yeah.
No, just that gets my attention.
All
Do it. You need to.
right, we'll call this meeting back to order at 8:03, and we'll continue with item 9A, WWCRS Incorporated's Retail Dispensary Cannabis Business License at 130 North Butte Street. With this, I'll give this over to Community Development Director Joe Betancourt.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. We've just covered a lot of history on this. So I'm going to start at the approval of the CUP. We did have some concerns raised in between with the name change, and WWCRS has submitted a new application. So this application is a revised application, which delayed our meeting, but now we're here. We've got our CUP approved. So with that, this application was reviewed again by the city manager, myself, and then also sent out to council a week ahead of time for review. Just want to say throughout this process, the applicants have emphasized that their operations will be built on safety, transparency, and strict controls. Their security plan calls for 24/7 monitored UL certified alarm coverage with 1080p CCTV cameras. You can also see their camera system and how it's laid out in some of their floor plans, their lighting plans. Everything's very, very detailed. It's got a 90-day retention period, meaning data is stored for up to 90 days. This is also a good thing with the exterior lighting and any exterior cameras. It also helps the law enforcement deal with not only any issues with the retail cannabis business, but in the surrounding area. And that's also, I'll point out, of having a benefit to the two being in a concentrated area with the bar around the corner also, that will now be all covered in security cameras on both the east and west side of the block. And a live video monitoring with talk down capability, meaning that they see and the stream live have the ability to speak through that device. Yeah, so just a lot of security protocol. Access to the building will be tightly managed. They have panic buttons. They've got a controlled lobby check-in, meaning that once you enter the door, you are completely isolated from any part of that building until a security guard allows you to enter through the next door, which opens you up to the actual sales floor, and then the exit is a completely separate from the entrance. And this is a certified badge security guard that does the lobby check-in. All the limited access areas will either be biometric or key card controlled, meaning that only employees with that specific access are allowed in those rooms. They'll be using all their tracking and tracing things that are requirements. Use the metric compliant seed to sale software, and they will be doing weekly audits as well in addition to that. Deliveries will be in GPS tracked vehicles, and manifests will only take place, and manifests will be kept of the deliveries. And the business hours are never between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. And this is one of the pieces of our municipal code that is actually more restrictive than the state code. And again, the financial benefits that they propose to the city. We've got an increased sales tax, to 8.75, so we'll get that on their sales. And then they've offered another 5% directly to the city as a revenue sharing mechanism to be paid monthly now, I believe. So that is a nice piece of it. If we go put something on the ballot later for 5%, 7%, 3%, any direction that it goes, if the measure passes, that will become the new tax to the city. And they pledged to have accurate reporting, full compliance with tax and fee obligations, and have agreed to provide audit rights to the city. So considering all things in their application, as some of you have mentioned previously, it's a very detailed application. Security meets all the compliance as required by the state and then some. Their hours of operation meet what the City of Willows Municipal Code has. They've got some detailed plans for ADA improvements for the restrooms and their parking structure as well. They currently have a permit open for some interior demo. Taking all things into consideration, along with their experience, and bringing in Anna as an operation manager, which you can see her qualifications, and their other micro business in Sacramento. I think they've done an excellent job of providing all the information regarding security and meeting our protocol within these two applications. And with that, staff can take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Thomas, or Vice Mayor Thomas, sorry.
You know, I just have one quick question because after you read this so many times, things get lost. But under the resolution section 4, it says the initial license term shall be 1 year from date of issuance of the certificate of authorization by the city manager. Issuance would be upon state approval. Is that correct?
Upon state approval, we would.
Because that's a condition that they have to have in order to get
the city authorization.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I had at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Pride.
I'm going to pass for the moment.
Okay. Councilmember Busby. I'm back to you faster than that. Councilmember Pride. Councilmember Hanson.
I have no questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Pride.
So I
I am
Go
going to
back-
close it.
gotta go back to him first.
Oh, sorry. Vice Mayor Thomas.
Not at this time.
Okay, so waiting for somebody to start. So I think now that we're at the point of looking at whether we're going to issue a license to WWCRS Inc., the question, as I listened to the community and the petitions that we got from the community, my brain goes all over the place. So we got some last minute information today. Generally, we ask questions on our agenda packets and then we get a response to those questions on the dais, and we don't always read those questions out to the public. So I want to share a couple of these, and some of these are my questions that I actually asked of the city attorney, who apparently shared those with the city manager, and then I see an answer to my question here. So the first comment was a general staff comment regarding the petition. And this is public information, I'm sure, but please note, a typical petition would also include the address of the petition signees, and there's no address information. Furthermore, a cursory review of the petition name suggests that at least 15% of those who signed the petition do not live in the city limits. So, my understanding of the petition, it's people who live here that are voters. There are people who live in the sphere of influence who don't live in the quote city limits, but they do shop here. And there are people who drive to Willows to shop specifically, because I know some of the petitions were at stores that are frequently by people. So that's information. I think it's an important thing as we look at considering a second dispensary, that there's a significant number of people that have concerns and have said they don't support it. I'd asked about the insurance certificate because it was not a very clear copy. So we did get a much clearer copy of the new certificate for WWCRS. One of the things that is required in the application is a statement of information be filed. And I'd been kind of watching that. It was filed today. It was delinquent as of 9/4. And again, I'm a rule follower, right? So if the state of California says when you file your articles of incorporation that you also need to file a statement of information filing, and they give you a deadline to do that, and that deadline passes. And when I asked the question, that wasn't in the application, it wasn't a complete application, it was one of the required submittals. And I kind of get told that, oh, it's not a big deal. You're still incorporated, you're still a business, it doesn't matter, it's not really important, and they'll do it. Okay, and you did, thank you very much. But to me, I make a little check mark and says that, well, if that's not important, what else are we saying isn't really important? We're asking for it, but then we're saying it doesn't really matter. So thank you for providing that today. I'm just trying to read the ones that bothered me. So as we went forward and the applicant made the change from being Native A LLC to WWCRS Incorporated, I had actually asked the question way prior to, not way prior, at least 2 weeks prior to the Planning Commission, and brought up the concern that it's not just a change of name, it's actually a change in legal entity. And can WWCRS, as a new legal entity, be held responsible for the attestations that Native A LLC had made in their phase 1 and phase 2 applications? My comments weren't taken to heart at that time, and it went to the Planning Commission without that being addressed. When it was supposed to come back to us at the City Council on August 26th, I was still concerned about that. So I raised that issue prior to that meeting, and the city staff conferred with our city attorney, who determined that we did need to make some changes there. So it was pulled from the August 26th meeting. So my expectation, as I look at what we ended up getting, my expectation was that we would get a new application, that we would get an application that encompassed, and I think Vice Mayor Thomas can attest to this, as we went through the process and I was on the committee, we reviewed things, we had questions, we'd get some piecemeal answers to those questions. At our final committee meeting on May 15th, we still had questions. We were still gathering information, and the information was trickling in and emails and, okay, here's the response to those questions. So in my mind, and kind of the way I do things, is that I said, here's an opportunity for, as we make this change in entity structure and do what it said in one part in the staff report, a new application was submitted. And then later it said it was a revised application. And then as I looked through the packet, it was an amended application. So there were old dates and amendments, but the new name, and then there was stuff still in the file that was still Native A, that were emails, that was adding information. And for me, this application packet that we got submitted, I could put it back together because I had all the prior reiterations from being on the committee. But if I looked at this application as a complete application, I don't believe it is. And my concern going forward is that now our file, should this be approved, we're going to have this revised application, but we also need to pull forward information from the Native A application and go back, and we're going to have a file to go back and say who said what. It's going to be this thick. So I've not been happy with how this process has played out. I think it's messy. I think, if I held up my packet, I've had millions of little yellow sticky notes everywhere, and I'm just questioning and had to go find the information somewhere else in the packet. Now, for my fellow council members, they weren't on the committee and didn't have the benefit of maybe seeing everything as it went. I've also seen just every time, it seems like every day there was a new piece of information. I think the applicant was very clear as Native A that they were going to do delivery as a future endeavor. And yet, as we got closer to the August 5th Planning Commission meeting, suddenly it's asking for protocols as if we're doing it in real time, because the code requires that if you're going to do delivery, you need to have specified all your protocols. And up until, I don't know the exact date because I've got too much paper here, but it was in mid to later July that you were asked to provide that. And so that was, that was a week before going to the Planning Commission. So they're just continually just new information and adding it to a packet constantly. So I've struggled after being on the committee to review the application and really be able to pinpoint all my questions. So again, as I look through this, things are amended. I understand you've been asked to come back in now and do wet signatures on the amended application. There's just some stuff that's literally, it's still an email form from Native A providing answers to questions. I mean, this is in our official packet. So as I say that, as we look at doing a second dispensary in Willows, I voted no on changing the zoning. I voted no. I spoke at the Planning Commission meetings as it went forward, saying I didn't think we needed to change the zoning. I voted, as I said, I voted no to allow it in the central commercial. And And it passed, it passed on a 3-2 vote. And I'm of the mindset as a council member that when something is voted on and the majority has said, we're going to allow it in central commercial and general commercial, that I need to support that. So because of the way things unfolded through this process, and one cannabis retail application came to the council first, I heard clearly from the community and from some of the businesses that a cannabis dispensary can add value to Willows. I've never had opposition to having a cannabis dispensary in Willows, simply because in 2017, the council adopted it. We allowed it. We were looking forward to it. I actually worked with Element 7 when they tried to come here. I was on the planning commission when the next one got approved. Had no issues. They were going to be out by Harvest Drive. They actually bought the property. So I had no issues with that. So my issues began when we started looking at moving it into the central commercial. And sadly, I didn't anticipate, and I don't think any member of this council anticipated, that we would go from 0 to 2 and they'd be right across the street from each other. And if I had thought about that, in hindsight's 2020, if I had thought about that, I would have recommended, and I think we probably would have said yes to limiting it to 1 per zone, or having some kind of a way to make sure they're not right across the street. As I've alluded to, and I have watched our planning work since well before I was on the city council. And it's not always been a really clean process. We've changed planners multiple times. We have code enforcement issues in our community that don't relate to cannabis, but we already have code enforcement issues. Our code is out of date. We don't have code enforcement officers. We're doing a good job of proactively trying to deal with that if someone actually gives us a complaint form. But in my personal opinion, the city doesn't have the capacity, staff-wise, to manage the unknowns of 2 retail dispensaries. We've approved 1. I mean, we don't even know that our code will be effective. It's an old code, but it is what we had. And so our city code says that we will allow up to 2, that the council can deny or approve with a reason. I think the reasons I'm stating to be a no vote on a second dispensary, and I honestly will say that it is no reflection on your company or your application per se, other than there's been just so many last minute changes and it's just changed constantly that it's been hard to keep up. And there's a part of my mind that are we going to be consistent once the rubber meets the road and we start doing the business? I don't know. But for me, and if I was asked for my reason at this point, it would be 1 is enough. And I don't think I can say anything else without bringing up past things that weren't done well. And I don't think there's any reason to do that. But I will reserve any future comments depending on if there's other discussion that I think I want to address.
Okay, in the questions comment of this, one thing you were talking about was the security of a facility like this. How many of our bars do we have or require cameras on, Joe?
Yeah, I haven't been here since we've had a bar come into play. But I know with the Coyote Saloon, there's time requirements that were put in place, but I'm not aware of video surveillance requirements. And I believe these are state requirements as well for the video surveillance sense. So,
and none of our liquor stores are required by the state to have the surveillance either, correct?
I don't believe so.
And none of our bars ID customers as they walk in, correct? That's not a state requirement either.
Not as stringent as it would be for the cannabis industry.
And liquor stores don't require an ID before somebody walks into their store either, right?
Not a scanned ID checked into a database.
Okay.
Correct.
Those are my only questions. I'm going to open up to public comment.
Mayor, if
Yes.
I may, probably before opening up to public comment, you may want to invite the applicants an opportunity to respond, and if you have any questions for them, that'd be your opportunity to ask them.
Okay. Applicants, do you have anything that you'd like to say at this time?
Thank you. I'm going to speak somewhat similarly to what I said earlier, in that I am complimenting staff for all their hard work. And after all of their hard work and looking into the application, they deemed it was complete, that we've met all the requirements, and that this should be approved. Having said that, I have a few additional comments. One is I've heard your concerns, Councilmember Pride. I guess my first comment is I understand the hesitation of having two dispensaries. I understand the hesitation of having them next to each other. As I said in the beginning, this, in my opinion, and we can clarify with City Council if you'd like, is not the forum or the time to discuss whether the ordinance should have had one, should have had them in separate places. You know, what is on the agenda for today is, should the business license be issued given the state of the law as it is today? And in doing that, there's a very special, a direct way to do this is there are 12 things that we have to say, yes, they check off, they don't. Do they have a felony? Did they do something wrong? If not, they're entitled to a business license. You know, so I am going to ask council to keep that in mind when deciding whether to issue a business license, that they stick to the protocol of how to handle a business license application such as this. Having said that, I'd like to address some of your concerns. And the first is that I agree that there have been a number of changes. The way, with my experience with local government, is that when there's an applicant, they don't actually work with the city council as this progresses, they work with staff. And that's exactly what has happened, that we have been working hand in hand with staff saying, okay, here's the situation. What do you think? Well, why don't we have a new entity so we don't have a crossing of the streams of revenues to keep it clear? Okay, how would you like us to amend this? Staff's response, well, we should do the amendment to the applications and you should amend part one, amend part two. Okay, we'll do that. That was us working with the staff. I understand the council may have preferred us to do it a different way or not have made changes. But again, this is, the staff is representing the city when we're working with the staff. So we are trying to comply with what the city wants us to do, which is why we kind of went down the path that we went down. I understand your concern about having not being able to manage two dispensaries. My response is it is much easier to manage two dispensaries that are right across the street from each other than it would be if they were in very different parts of town. Just for logistical reasons, it's just easier to do. I may have missed more of your concerns. I'm happy to get back to them. And at the end, I'll say, you know, what did I miss? I wanted to address Councilman Hanson because I obviously I don't know, you were just meeting for the first time. My impression is that you would agree that with a business license application, there's a very checklist of you know, if it complies with these 12 things, they're entitled to it. And I was going through the list. I'm saying, what is he going to, what can I find? I mean, clearly they don't have a felony. Clearly they haven't sold things illegally. Clearly they've complied with these. There's one that looks a little gray, and that is, it says, let's see, will it possibly cause or encourage, and then a list of things, illegal sales. And I could see somebody who does not agree with medical, with a cannabis dispensary saying, yeah, they encourage, you know, illegal sales, sales to minor, crime, you know, those types of things. I don't think I'm going to change your mind on this. So I respect it, you know, and I understand where you're coming from. I also understand that when this ordinance passed, I'm sure that was considered, and 3 of the council members felt that having a dispensary didn't necessarily increase crime or encourage sale to minors as long as it was being run correctly. And I think the application, as indicated by staff, is a complete application of a company that wants to do this correctly, is doing all the security that's required to do it correctly. And that's why they're recommending that this be approved. With that, I wanted to ask if I missed any of your concerns that I could address for you at this time, or if the applicants can address for you at this time. Okay. All right. With that, if I may, I just, again, would like to just invite the applicant, if they have something to add, to join us. And again, I'm available if anybody has any questions, as is the applicant.
I do have one quick question for
Sure.
you. On the entry vestibule where you guys have your security checking IDs, do they have to buzz them into the store from that position, or is that door always unlocked?
I'm going to refer that to, would you like to address that? I believe you have to buzz in. I just didn't want to make a
Okay.
mistake. So if
No, that's fine. I
if
just
an
wanted, of
applicant, just say your name when you come up. Thank you very much for
course.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is George. So as soon as you walk in, there is, and you can see it on the plans, there is like a man trap type of thing, kind of like when you go to the airport, before you get to the other side, sometimes there's a door closed. Sometimes when you get, sorry, sometimes when you get to the airport, one door opens while the other door is locked. Once you're inside, that door locks, and then the other door opens.
Okay.
So in our plans, you can see there is what is called like a man trap, and they have a window so that we can see when they come in. We can buzz them in. There's cameras right outside the door that is going to be on the inside of the section where the security guard is going to check in that person. So you will be able to see who's coming in. And yes, they will be buzzed in for security purposes.
And then how many people are you allowing inside the store at one time?
I don't think that usually there's more than like 5 people at one time in the dispensary. But I think the maximum amount of numbers that's based on the use. I forgot what it's called, but it's a they calculate based on how many rooms, what you're using them for, the maximum amount of people that are allowed inside the facility for fire purposes, for fire evacuation and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. No, those are my only 2 questions. I was just, like I said, I'm checking the safety aspect of it, right? That's one of the big concerns. So that's where my questions are coming from. So thank you very much. Thank you. Mine. Okay.
Hi, good evening again. Thank you. I really appreciate I'm sorry, Margaret Sharkey. Thank you. Incredible insightfulness and diligence of the City Council. It's amazing to watch you in action. Anyway, California's regulated cannabis market is the largest in the world, fostering environmental stewardship, compliance tested products, and fair labor practices, while driving economic growth and funding vital programs in education, public health, and environmental protection. Just yesterday, Gavin Newsom, in his press release related to reducing the cannabis tax, which was going to go to 25%, stated, "We're rolling back this cannabis tax hike so the legal market can continue to grow. Consumers can access safe, tested products, and our local communities can see benefits." In addition, President Trump's administration is actively reviewing a proposal to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Federal Controlled Substance Act by executive order. As explained in our letter sent today to Council, the available commercial real estate in Willows for a retail dispensary is extremely limited due to many factors, which include locating mortgage-free properties that meet setbacks, and locating commercial property owners willing to lease to a retail dispensary. The downtown has not seen economic progress over the last 25 years, as evidenced by stagnant rental rates that do not even keep pace with cost of living adjustments, and continued vacancies and businesses that start up with good intentions but close due to the reality of limited to no traffic affecting the viability of their businesses. This change with the 2 permitted dispensaries in the downtown will improve economic revenue streams for all businesses there. In addition, as everyone is aware, at the end of 2023, Willows faced a severe fiscal crisis that required an emergency sales tax, which was passed by the voters. However, Willows will continue to need sustainable revenue for its general fund. This funding gap will be reduced by shared revenue agreements with the 2 permitted dispensaries and will provide city additional funds to buy a new fire truck in the discretion of the council, what they want to do. You know, I appreciate the diligence and detail and consideration of our application and want to let you know that we will be long-term partners with the city and will run a dispensary that is compliant. And I understand our business partnership is based on trust and the ultimate goal of improvement to the general economic of businesses here in the city. We've had many people who were interested to sign the application, and I just have to tell you that many downtown businesses were concerned to sign anything because of their fear of being blacklisted or ostracized by the community. That's a fact. This is a business that is come in to 2025 highly regulated and highly compliant, and that is our goal here in Willows. Principal goal, drive economic growth. Thank you. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I crossed out everything that I was going to say. You know, I'm the only one to be blamed for being here. My son and my wife are in the medical field. It happens that I'm architect and we are dreamers. And as a dreamer, I always want to bring a change to. Oh, my name is Omar Crespo. Okay. So, as an architect, we were trained to question the establishment. Any preconceived ideas about something, we have to question constantly. This is a new industry, and as you said, it has changed a lot during the last 10 years. And it will continue to change as cannabis becomes an option for cure, especially for people in my age, 70 plus or 50 plus. So my concern is I have the opportunity to, in my design, and patient education is something very important. When you know about what you're taking, you will be the best referral. That's why maybe at the beginning, no one will show up. But as the word spread, maybe those 450 people will change their mind because cannabis is here to stay, not because of us, it's because it has been proven to cure even cancer. What happened, pharma is supported by federal funds. Cannabis has no fund for testing, but there is so much information about the options that cannabis have in the cure of diseases. Of course, every human being is different. And as a natural product, each one is different. You could medicate yourself by, let me try this, but there is no like a prescription, like a doctor. I said, take this and that and this amount, which deteriorate. Because if you read the prescription, anytime you get a prescription, they give you a paper to disclose everything. If you read it, you don't take it. This is my point here. I'm not here to just say this is my opportunity to be different, because the same license by two different owners with two different visions, medical field and a dreamer, will have a different solution. The same liquor license in a restaurant, the same liquor type, a liquor store. We have a liquor store. My son has a liquor store that the same license, he converted into high-end craft beer. No bars, they have no bars because the clientele is not a typical people who go to a liquor license. So the same license, it could be different. It depends on who is the owner or who is the, in this case, we are us. And please excuse my nervousness, but it's the first time, but I said, I cross out everything that I want to say because I wanted to bring my point of what we are here and what we are planning to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then I will. Did you have anything further to add? Sorry, just before I open up to public comment, 1 second, sorry. Okay, perfect. Now I'll open up to public comment.
My name is Reverend Linda Robert. I am the pastor 15 years across the street from the location that we are talking about. It's close to the railroad tracks where there's a lot of low-income people that have already been in our church, have talked to us about many things they've gone through. I counsel many of your children, many of your citizens, of their struggles of drugs and alcohol and problems that are happening in your community on your watch. So this is why I felt it important to come, which I came to the planning department, which I understood they did not even get the documents until that day. So they had no time to truly review and go through everything. So I am here this day asking you, please, also, because there's no emergency room, and you heard what was talked about that today, many cannabis places do not report crimes because they already have so much a high watch on everything. In the back of our church, we get needles, we get baggies, we get people passed out high, drunk all the time. I'm asking you to think about what you're doing, the choices you're making for your back door, your community. Also, I see these, I think it's a poor choice to teach our community. We're gonna get money by selling drugs. That's the perfect way to raise funds. It is not. It might be a way, but it's definitely not the right way from a community already suffering so much. And our crime and our law enforcement officer, as Councilman Member Pride said, that we have such a low rating, which I talked about during the planning committee meeting, that Willows has one of the lowest rates for meeting the bar for what's necessary for a growing, thriving community. And you can do your own research. I want to make sure that the public has access to who do we report when there are violations, when there are problems. I personally am extremely allergic to the smell. So I make sure everybody understand I can do counseling, but you got to come clean, you got to come right, and you can't come smelling back because I cannot stand the smell. So when I heard about the enforcement, about what they're going to do with the smell, I'm very interested in what and how we can report this. Because while it helps some, it hurts others. And then also, if we're going to be having all this money to help the community, why isn't some of this money going to opening up back up the emergency room? because you're going to need it for all the people that come through this problem that we're having or going to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Else?
Holly Myers, downtown business owner and community member. I'm really troubled with several things here, and that is that we're not debating whether or not cannabis is legal or not. We're debating about whether we want 2 dispensaries in our central commercial zone of our downtown and what that is going to do to our downtown. I am petrified, and I've had a business downtown for 18 years. Anyone that I have talked to, discounting these 400 signatures just makes me sick to my stomach. That is the worst thing that you could do to your community. Discounting 400 people that live here, work here, shop here. It's awful, terrible. So the question really is, well, actually, I have one more thing. I don't understand how the Planning Commission, the City Council sent to the Planning Commission an action item as to whether or not the dispensary should be allowed downtown in our central commercial zone. And it was a 3-0 vote. How did we even get to this place? How did that change? I don't understand that. How did that change? 3-0. No, we want to leave it in the zones that it was in. Like I said, this isn't about whether or not cannabis should be here in Willows. It's about whether or not 2 dispensaries should be in our downtown. It's bad. It's not good. People that come here to shop here, live here, it's not a good look for our town. And the city spent $40,000 on a survey to find out how they were doing. How's the city doing? And the most important thing that came back on that is that there's not enough for our youth to do. So we're going to bring 2 dispensaries to our central commercial zone where we have the light parade, the lamb derby. We had a craft fair in that very parking lot last weekend. And we're going to have a dispensary there where we're bringing our children. You guys, you can do better. It's not, they can open up a dispensary, but it doesn't need to be in the central commercial zone. 2 is too many.
Jan Smith, citizen, been here since 64. I have no problem with it either. I want to know when the zone got changed, because when I was here trying not to get a taco truck on the corner, and after 5 times being here, that got turned against all of the locals that didn't want it and didn't think it was appropriate. The last thing I saw was zoning for cannabis was not in the central district. So then when I was made aware of this, my first question was, it's in the central district now? And I would agree. The look of our downtown is, what is it? And what are you supporting? And I'm not against cannabis. It can be used very well for health benefits. But what kind of a look do we want for our downtown? I totally agree with Holly. Totally. We got a white elephant department store. We got a crumbling tower theater. We got a post office that doesn't get taken care of. You know, what do we want for our downtown? Nothing. I guess everything's going to be out at the freeway. So I don't know, something to think about. And at this point in the game, as the attorney said, I don't think you have any choice, because they've checked all the boxes. They've done all the things they're supposed to do. And for you to say yes or say no to, tonight to this license, can you legally say no? And up until he started to come and speak, and I'm going to say this to you, I had no problem.
Please talk into the mic so we can make sure it gets on the recording.
But
Sorry.
that was a threat.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion or public comment? Sorry.
My name is Sherry Broad, and I am on the commission. And I just want to say it was a 3-0 vote.
The minutes didn't reflect that it was a vote, but it was a vote, and we did vote to keep the distances the same. And I was really surprised when it came back to the city council and you guys changed it, because I actually thought we were all in agreement on something. And that felt good for that 1 month, but it was a vote. And we did say we wanted to keep everything as it was.
Thank you. Any further?
To talk a little more about the CUP condition number 2, saying that it's not detrimental to the public health. Well, this group that I quoted from, gettingitRightFromTheStart.org, is funded by the National Institutes of Health and by the California Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program. So some of the things that I didn't get time to mention, which I will, according to the U.S. Surgeon General, cannabis can have severe negative effects on the adolescent brain, including problems with memory and learning and impaired coordination. Higher potency products are particularly dangerous for youth. And I can testify to that because I have drug and alcohol abuse in my own family that led to the death of my brother. So it's nonsense that there's no detrimental to health. Now, I can see that it does have some health benefits, lots of them, apparently, but I don't think the majority of our customers are going to be coming here to get it for their health. They're going to be coming here to get high. And all of you know that you have to be 21 to go into those places, but how many 21-year-olds have friends that are 18, 16, younger family members that they can come in and buy marijuana for them? It starts when they're young. You know, that's how it started in my family. With my nephew, who has a very large dispensary in Sonoma County, very large. But the family problems are devastating in his family. And I'll never get over the loss of my brother and how that happened. So I just want to state a couple more things here. Rates of cannabis-related mental health issues, including psychosis and suicidal ideation, are also climbing. These effects can have a strong impact on community public safety, including increased auto accident rates due to consumers driving under the influence. To mitigate these issues, cities and counties that choose to legalize retail sales of cannabis should adopt a set of common sense, evidence-based cannabis policies to fulfill our collective responsibility to protect youth and promote social equity. And as I said earlier, Willows, their cannabis ordinance rated, and this was only up to January 1st, 2024, before they changed the setback ordinance on January 14th. They rated 12, but you can take 5 off of that because the required distance was reduced to 600 feet from schools. So we rated with our cannabis ordinance rated with the score of 7 out of a possible 100. We do need, I believe we need to listen to our citizens, and almost 400 have spoken loud and clear.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, I will give it to council comment. Vice Mayor Thomas. First
You start with me, don't you?
Every time.
The question, what do you want downtown to look like? I spent 25 years working on Sycamore Street. And I've looked down that street and we've had a pizza parlor, we've had a frame shop, we had a bank, we had a movie theater, and now we have Holly's store, which is a very positive thing for us. The thrift store has expanded. The tax place is not there anymore, but it's expanded. One of the things you see and what happened is these businesses left, the pizza parlor and some other stuff. Look down the street, there's no traffic. There's nobody on the street. We need to get people on the street. We need foot traffic down there. I see cannabis businesses without any cannabis showing on the windows, as an opportunity to bring foot traffic downtown. That's why I've been in support of trying to bring business and economic activity to the downtown. I would also like to see restaurants out in the street, in the parking lots, in the parking spaces, so it demonstrates we have foot traffic and activity. If you see people on the street, you're going to go down there. If you see nobody on the street, you're going to think it's dead. And we need to create that opportunity. Before tonight, I went back and I listened to all of our meetings we've had on this subject. And so I don't need to repeat a lot of what I said, but I akin this particular issue to what we went through in 1920 to 1933 with prohibition. If you change alcohol to cannabis, it's the same situation and the same fight that went on, and it was determined. And if you look at what they post about the prohibition, they said it was a failure, and it actually promoted more drinking and more consumption. Now, that's not necessarily the same as what we're looking at today, but you're worried about the kids, and I am worried about the kids too. But Guido in the alleyway in the back of his van selling weed is still going to be there. What this does, it creates an opportunity for the adults. If they want weed, they can do that. But I think the majority of the people are going to be looking for, and I should probably ask our applicant, what's the mix of CBDs and non-THC product versus the THC products? Because I think there is benefit of these CBDs and some other things that bring forth benefits to the public. Unfortunately, tonight, let me step back. The government decision process is a very slow and lethargic process. It's a source of my frustration. But it's designed to allow the public to access and address the council on issues that we're facing. In 2017, the council, before I was here, decided that 2 dispensaries was the appropriate amount of dispensaries in the city. In 2024, we amended the ordinances to change the volume. We did not have the public outcry then that we have now, because now they're looking at it and here it is. The meeting tonight, unfortunately, is to determine whether or not the applicant has met existing laws within the city that have been created and are here. And I don't know, frankly, if we have even a legal right, Jan, to even deny it without facing serious legal challenges. I'm not putting words in your mouth, sir. But the fact that there's 2 downtown, I think malls existed because if you can't find it in one store, you walk next door and you find it in the other store. I think there is a synergy that you talk about. I think 2 dispensaries across from each other are going to hold each other accountable for anything that they're doing that's not appropriate. If these folks see somebody going down the street doing something they shouldn't be doing, they're going to hold them accountable, and vice versa. I like the concept of foot traffic. I think that is economically the best thing that can happen to the city of Willows. Irregardless of the cannabis tax and their share program that they have committed to, I think creating folks downtown who might walk in and get a sandwich at CBD or CB, or walk into Holly's store and look around, who knows what economic benefit would come. We need to do something. The surveys that we did from 2000 and I was here for 2000 and 2002 and what we needed to do downtown, we looked the same way. If we don't do something different, we're going to be this way 5, 10, 15 years from now. Is it the right decision? Time will tell. But right now, I think we need to create some energy where Willows is open to do business, and folks will come to town and shop. And when they see there's activity, other businesses might say, there's a place to go down and we can fill up some of our storefronts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pride.
Two things, and one, I just want to be mindful of the two of the public comments from prior planning commissioners and current planning commissioners. When we got the letter today from the applicant and they had laid out the dates of all the meetings leading up to this, one of those was the July 17th, 2024 meeting. And the statement in the applicant's letter says that the Willows Planning Commission meeting requesting direction or modifying zoning was brought to them on that date, and it was an opportunity to limit potential zonings. And the sentence following says the Planning Commission elected to take no action to modify the zoning for retail dispensaries. Now, sadly, I'm only bringing this up tonight here because it was brought up by two commissioners, and I actually went and looked at every meeting that was referenced in the applicant's letter to refresh my memory on what happened and looking at the dates. And actually, at the July 17th meeting, the Planning Commission did in fact make a motion with a second and a vote to say we do not want to alter the zoning as it currently exists. And for whatever reason, the minutes 2 meetings later said they chose to take no action. So that was perpetuated in the September 10th meeting of the council when, based on the fact that the Planning Commission said that they would take no action, they moved forward with recommending it move forward. So I'm only bringing that up tonight because I want people to feel like they've been heard. We voted, we said our piece, and for whatever reason, that wasn't what was reflected in the minutes. Oh, I had one other thing I did want to bring up, and you made me think of it. Oh, and the only other thing I'll say in response to, I love how we can all share because one of us says something, it prompts something else. You know, economic development's really tough in a small town. We've been doing a lot of road trips lately, and we're driving through a lot of small towns across all the way out to Missouri. And we make a point of we don't like freeways, so we take the back roads and go through the small towns. And every small town is experiencing what Willows is experiencing in terms of decline and boarded up buildings, and it's really tough. You know, retail is largely done online anymore. You can order something and you can have it delivered to you. But I will also say in the last several years and I was on the city council 25 years ago, and so here I am back. But I would say we talk a lot about economic development. We talk a lot about we need to do something to revitalize our community, but that's all we've really done is talk about it. Even wayfinding signs that just recently got brought to the forefront again, courtesy of Vice Mayor Thomas. I know when I was on the Planning Commission in 2023, we were trying to get that moved to the council for some kind of action, and it just never went forward. You know, so when we say cannabis is the answer to our problem of economic development and our foot traffic, I'm not going to say that I don't think there's merit to that argument. I truly
think it's the answer. I think it's part of the solution.
And I won't disagree, but I don't know. As you said, that's to be determined. But I think when coming from a place of financial scarcity, we have had limited revenue. It's hard to do more than survive when you have limited revenue. When I look at the numbers, combined numbers from both dispensary applications, based on projected revenues, each of $1 million per year, I believe that's what's in the pro forma. The pro forma in this package actually was an older pro forma that still had the 1.25% sales tax instead of the 1.5% that we have, and it showed a sales tax of Willows getting the whole 7.25%. So my numbers say, based on everything, you know, we'd get about 125 or 130,000 a year from both dispensaries if we had both. So it's more revenue, but it's not. I don't know if it's enough. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
You, Councilmember Busby.
Yeah, I think to echo a little bit of Rick's comments, I think what do we want the downtown to look like? We want it to be occupied. And right now, since I've moved here and I've been here about 3 years, the thing that I've heard from 9 different directions is we got to find more ways to get people downtown. We just don't have enough ways to get people downtown. Nobody's coming downtown. Nobody eats downtown. And so this may not be the solution that everybody had in their mind, but we got to get things downtown. And right now, I think that this is the first step. It's not, I like it is not the solution. It's a first step. Is it the right step? Time will tell. I do believe that, again, what we're voting on are procedural legal things, which, this is extremely thorough process. So I am supportive of it. I think anything that we can do to get people to explore more of just the four corners is what I call the four gas stations at the interstate or the off ramp is a good thing. I understand that there's some procedural and code bits about this that don't necessarily feel warm and fuzzy, but again, I just have to reiterate we're not in thrive mode. We're doing everything we can to set ourselves up for a bright future. And this isn't the right thing. You'll be the first one to come find me and get a no. Hey, we messed up. But right now, we got to do everything we can to try to get more foot traffic, more business, and more business development into Willows.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree with almost everything my colleagues have said tonight. You know where I sit on this, but Rick, Lori, Matt, your comments. I mean, I agree with much of it. I disagree with two cannabis dispensaries downtown. I disagree with one downtown. So let me just reiterate on that for just a moment. So we've talked about the amendments of the setback of our solid, complete, comprehensive cannabis ordinance that we have in place. We enacted in 2017. I was on the council then. We spent a lot of time and effort enacting that ordinance. So basically, it identified two areas within the city limits. The city limits is right about 2.5 square miles in size, roughly. Okay, maybe just a little bit more, almost 3 miles in square size, roughly from Swift Trucking just south of County Road 57 and County Road 99. Takes in much of the freeway, as you know, up until just north of Willows. So it basically, that ordinance as crafted initially limited, as we've discussed, the ordinance to 2 dispensaries within the city limits. I voted for that. I was opposed to it for years. It finally came up. I offered a number of amendments, as did my colleagues at the time on that council. I was satisfied with the amendments and thinking that maybe due to the 10th Amendment state rights, even though it is a Schedule I drug still in the federal government, as we know, and it's been mentioned earlier, state rights comes into play, and cannabis was enacted lawfully, right, under very stringent circumstances. That's the law, and that's where we sit. So the 2 dispensaries were, basically South Willows and some limited access in the freeway frontage, not downtown. So this council recently, as was discussed on a 3-2 vote, myself and Councilmember Pride voted against it. I was against making the amendments reducing the setbacks over my colleagues on the council who I respect and admire and also happen to like. Okay, this is a constitutional republic, as we know, and we have our debate and discussion, and we vote, and the majority rules, right? When the dust settles and the smoke clears, we support. We're a nation founded on law and built on law, right? We're talking about everything we're talking about tonight is built on law, foundation of law, rule of law, principle of law. So here we are. So I'm still opposed to, even though it in a 3-2 vote, the setbacks were eliminated. Basically, the church from the Grace Church basically allowed Ms. Sharkey to pursue this vision. So, Ms. Sharkey, just to say, I met you, I think it was in 2010 or 2011. I was I was a vice mayor for the first time in 10 and the mayor for the first time in 11. When I met you, and we met with city staff right in that conference room right here, and you had a vision and you have promoted and persevered through years to see this vision come to fruition. I was opposed to your vision all along, but we had a you know, we're adults. We had a very good chat, discussions and dialogue. We met 2 or 3 times over the years. You're always very personable. It was a pleasure talking with you and meeting with you. We just disagreed on one thing. Okay, all right. I respect that, and I respect you for you know, for your perseverance. From a business owner perspective, that's fantastic, right? So, and I also just want to make a comment that your council represents you very well, Mr. Kendrell. Your comments, I appreciate your comments and your candor, and you're spot on with your comments and your candor from my standpoint. So, thank you for your input, and you represent, as I said, your client very well. But with that said, and Holly, I just want to make it clear, I don't discount the signatures. I am happy to see so many people agree with me. Whether they're city residents or county residents, it doesn't matter. I know almost everyone on the list, and I'm happy to say that most of them are friends of mine and who I respect and admire, and happen to agree with their opinion. Where I didn't really circle back, but where I wanted, when I made my comments earlier about stay tuned for item 9A, which we're discussing now. In my viewpoint, that's where the signatures come into play, not during the appeal. We had the appeal hearing. The signatures, fine, but they really pertain to this discussion 9A about allowing or disallowing the business license, right? And so I appreciate the signatures. I looked at all the signatures twice. A few more came in late. I reviewed those, and I agree with all of those citizens there. So our comprehensive ordinance is solid. Your security plan is solid. Your application I deem as complete. But I'm going to be voting no because I don't believe I voted no. You're not the only one. I voted against the previous applicant as well. The other dispensary that's going in, you know, rocks throw from your building. But I'm going to vote no because I don't think the 2 dispensaries belong downtown. I respect our ordinances. I respect state and federal law. However, I disagree with that. So my colleagues all know that. They're not surprised by this. A number of you in the room are probably not surprised by this. I became a law enforcement officer in 1978, Willows Police Department, Lake County Sheriff's Office, state of California, 36 years plus, almost 37 full time as I pursued my career. Much of that involved drug abuse. Okay. I've seen real life with drug abuse. I'm not going to get into the debate whether marijuana is good, bad, whatever. It's allowed, right, in the state of California. I think it's bad. Okay. I won't bore anybody with going into reasons why. I've seen it real life, real time. Okay. The destruction it does all the way around. I'm opposed to it. I've never, excuse me, been cutting rice all day and I've got rice dust in my throat apparently. So, I just, you know, I've never smoked marijuana because back when I wanted to start a law enforcement career, if you smoked marijuana, you were not hired. It was a felony back then. It changed right after that. Okay. Possession of a thimbleful was a felony in the state of California. Okay. That was changed around 78-ish, right in that area. So I wanted to pursue a career. And I did, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not a liar. I don't lie about anything. I wasn't going to lie in an application because that's not good. So anyway, never had, never will. Okay, I don't agree with it. Don't believe in it. But that's my choice. It's a law now. It's personal. It's personal choice, as long as it's, you know, done responsibly. But even though I disagree, so I'll be voting no, and that's why. Okay, so don't feel alone. I voted no on the other applicant as well. I agree with the 400 roughly friends of mine and citizens here who also disagree with having one or two cannabis dispensaries downtown. But if I were to bet on this, okay, if I were to bet, I'm not going to, but if I were to bet, I would say this will probably pass tonight, okay, a majority vote, and I'll respect that decision as I respect my colleagues. I respect, like I say, admire, and I like them, okay, which is good. So I disagree, but Ms. Sharkey and I'm sorry, Omar, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Omar. I'm sorry. I know you're married and have a family, and so anyway, I read the application, right? So I challenge you to prove me wrong. Okay, prove me wrong. All right. I hope you do. Okay, I really do. I hope you prove me wrong. Okay. All right. So thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. My turn, I guess. Well, somebody else has something more to say. Okay. All my colleagues have spoken. They've said just about everything that I can say. Again, I have to reiterate what Councilmember Hanson said is the list hit different. The list of the people that signed that did hit different today for me. Unfortunately, as it has been stated, this is not an emotional decision. This is a fact-based decision that we have to make. The emotional decision was when we changed our zoning codes. And that was the time where those would have had the best impact. And I wish I was not having to say that, but I do. Lori brought up a great thing that, this packet process, the process of us doing this was burdensome. It was kind of falling through in different parts. It needed some work. It's never been done before. First time I ever tried to fix the plumbing in my own house, okay, the first time was terrible for me to try and do it. I was losing parts. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I broke one thing, couldn't fix it. Okay. Hopefully our process will become smoother as we go. But like a 16-year-old driver right now, we're just kind of getting our bearings underneath us. And I'd like to remind that these are a temporary business license. They're termed. So as a city, we're going to be keeping a close eye on this, obviously, to make sure that things are going in the proper direction. We obviously don't want to turn our downtown into, a bad place for people that want to go hang out. We don't want it to be a bad area. The idea is to revitalize it, to have a movie theater again, to bring all the businesses back down there, to not see empty buildings or not see them being empty as often. That's our goal, right? Our goal is to have a place where people want to come hang out within our city limits, not just on the freeway district. So with that, I will leave it to my colleagues and we will call for a motion.
Council, just to reiterate, this is a process where if decision from the council as a whole is to deny the application based on some sort of finding of fact, the discussion
Correct.
heard.
Like I said,
do believe you will have some difficulty with that, but I want to make that clear.
Yeah. What do you think am I doing sitting over here this whole time? Going through it all in my head. So with that, I'll call for a motion from the council.
Can't find the resolution. It's lost within my paperwork.
Me too, Rick, for a minute. I think I have it. You need it.
Found it. Lori had it. It's in this pile of paperwork in front of me. I move that the resolution of the City Council of the City of Willows approving a retail dispensary cannabis business license for WWCRS Inc., the property located at 130 North Beach Street, assessors parcel number 003044005 within the central commercial zone be approved.
Do I have a
We
second?
need to address the
Amended
conditions of approval that we adjusted, or has
My-
that already been taken care of?
My recommendation would be just to amend your motion to include that any conditions of approval as previously adopted.
Okay. So I amend the motion to be approved with the amendments to the conditions of approval as we previously approved at the conditional use permit.
Do I have a second?
Seconded with the amendments to the CUP.
This will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Busby,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Hanson,
Nay.
Councilmember Pride. Nay. Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next item on the agenda will be 9B.
While we have folks changing, I'm going to refill my water.
We're going to take a quick 2-minute break
Yeah, you're good.
as people clear out
I guess we're taking.
at 9:18.
Safe drive home.
I know.
Hey, Scott.
Good to meet you. You wouldn't mind me?
Yeah.
Well, not everybody.
We'll be calling this meeting back to order at 9:25. And we will be, oh. Sorry,
They said you got to do.
I did it soft. And we will start off with item 9B, new carpet for library.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. The item before you is to authorize the city manager to purchase new carpet in the back room of the library where the partially collapsed ceiling has been for the last 9 months and is just about almost entirely complete, and use library development impact fees in the amount not to exceed $10,000. As you, I think, have all heard, maybe formally, informally, that, we do have a new city librarian who would like to expand services into that back room and offer some public programming. And so I spoke to the city attorney, who is the keeper of the Nexus study for how we spend our impact fees. And John felt that, yes, it does qualify for library impact fees because, and he added this paragraph I'm going to read right now. Additionally, the 2008 Nexus study identified new library services to be borne by new residents, to include increasing the building square footage, purchasing additional library books, and adding computer stations available to the public. As the back room of the library has never been available for public use, and the improvements associated with the requested expenditure will allow an expansion of the square footage available for public use, the recommendation directly aligns with expanding the square footage of the library, and therefore it is appropriate to use library diff funds for the proposed project. And so that's what we're proposing. And then Public Works would paint the back room, and then we'd have new and more programming for the public back there. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions from the council?
Absolutely not.
Just really fast. Does that mean that if we expand the scope of the addition or the renovation, that we could get that covered under additional scope of that in impact fees? So like if we do more than just carpet, can we pay for that? Like, hey, we want to build a computer lab. Now we can get that under impact fees?
I would say theoretically, yes, but each and every time, and there are other things that we're looking at, I will have to go to the city attorney and say, does this meet, the standard for the Nexus study? Because the Nexus study is really something engineers do, and they're kind of the ones that know the nuances of what you can and can't do. So we are looking at other things that we would like to do, but each time I will be going to John to make sure it work and be consistent.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? We have a first.
Second.
Before we have a first and a second, is there any public comment? Sherry? Okay. Any further comment after a first and a second? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Next item, item 9C, wayfinding sign design review. Community Development Director Joe Betancourt.
Good evening, council. So at September 2nd Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission provided design feedback to staff as well as recommended establishing an ad hoc committee to review and direct final design of the signs. The proposed committee was recommended to consist of Commissioner Nygaard and Vice Chair Quorum, one city council member, and one local business owner. New mock-ups were designed after this meeting that incorporated direction and feedback from the Planning Commission. The mock-ups were provided to Commissioner Nygaard, Vice Chair Quorum, Councilmember Pride, who is the liaison to the Planning Commission. They have taken these mock-ups and are currently working with some local business owners and community members to get input on the design. And staff would like to seek direction. If the council prefers, we bring this final design back to the council or the Planning Commission, and that they are comfortable with not creating an ad hoc committee and kind of using this system that we've set up using community members and the Planning Commission liaisons.
So if I could address this, if that's
Yeah, you're on the
fine.
committee,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So after the last meeting, I had a conversation with Joe and he went ahead and sent me the mock-ups. So I've actually talked with Commissioner Nygaard and Commissioner Quorum. Commissioner Quorum's out of town, but he gave me some input on what he prefers. I reached out to Colleen Watkins, who's our chamber manager, and she was interested in being kind of involved. And so I've met with her and kind of run things by her. And tomorrow, Commissioner Nygaard and myself and a business person are going to meet, take kind of a quick last look at these. And so I would anticipate we could have something back to Joe in time for the next planning commission meeting, honestly. And it would be my preference that this did go back to the planning commission. That would be my recommendation. It went to them. They made a recommendation. I think it's respectful of their involvement and to take it back to them for a final look and then bring it back to the city council. That would
Okay,
be my
so
thought.
just to clarify, because this is the thing I like to clarify, the final decision though will ultimately be with the council or with the planning?
I would think with the city council to firmly approve it, but to make sure that the planning commission who had comments on it get to see any final like recommendations and fine tune it. And then that would come back to the city council for a final.
I would agree with that.
I would say just let the planning commission just handle the whole deal. I mean, I don't see a reason for it to come back to us if they're already getting community involvement.
Yeah, they're doing the work.
They're doing the work.
It works for me.
I would agree, because if we come back, council just further delays the project.
That's kind of where I'm at. We can
And
get-
I trust the planning commission to come
Same.
up with the right decision.
then I think prior to, you know, as we look at stuff, we'll come back to staff and, you know, look at cost and, you know, we can look at having a really complete proposal. So. That
We
works.
already
I think-
approved the money. Essentially, we're just approving the design, right?
The money is approved, yep, and we've got, you know, I think some fail safes in that we've got enough budget regardless of what we do, as long as we don't get too creative, that we can purchase and replace the existing sign. If additional funding allows, we'll look at those new locations.
So what's in the packet, you know, a couple of the changes that came out of both the planning commission and maybe one conversation after the planning commission made the suggestion that we do a willow tree on the sign. So we tied into willows. I think some conversations with, you know, Holly specifically, who's done a lot of sign work, because sometimes that might make it more expensive. So we will definitely talk about an alternate if it becomes cost prohibitive to use it. And then it originally just said, it just said City of Willows originally, and we had changed it to a welcome to Willows. So I really think the massaging is going to be kind of font size. And so I think we're really close with this, honestly.
And if time allows, I'll try to get with a local vendor here to get a ballpark, right? Might not be the cheapest, but we'll have an idea. And Steinco specifically is always really good about kind of catering to that too. So try to have some sort of price so we know.
And so our goal will have this back to you probably by Thursday.
That plenty of time for the planning commission.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Especially for that item.
Perfect.
Like-
So we have consensus to have the planning commission make the final decision on this?
Yep.
Commissioner Brott, you okay with that?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll go on to item 10, comments and reports. Council correspondence. Do you have any for me? Okay, I received one from the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, specifically the 4-H Youth Development. The UC Cooperative Extension Glenn County and Glenn County 4-H would like to invite you to or your spouse or guest to the annual Glenn County 4-H Star Awards and Leaders Appreciation Event on Saturday, October 4th at 5:30 p.m. The event will take place at Murdoch Elementary School, 665 French Street. As you know, the event is held to give recognition to our adult volunteer leaders and our 4-H youth in Glenn County. Your presence as a member of the community is a visible form of appreciation and recognition for the 4-H leaders and youth. We do hope you can attend. Please notify the UC Extension Office with a phone number and email contact list by September 29th. Sincerely, Christine Campman, Glenn County 4-H Community Education Specialist. And then I got a card, and it just shows that it's Aloha theme. So, other than that, any other council correspondence that the council has received? Okay. With that, we'll go on to 10B, city council comments and reports. Vice Mayor Thomas, anything to report?
No, I have
comment?
no report tonight.
Okay. Councilmember Pride?
I was going to, but I forgot my notes, so I'll defer.
Okay. Councilmember Busby?
I filled in for regional transit. I was there for 3 minutes, and Gary will have the full report.
It's an extensive report too.
Councilmember Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the report is, as my colleague, Councilmember Busby advised, we had our Regional Transit Committee meeting, our Glenn County Transportation Commission meetings on Thursday, September 18th. Very short meetings, routine business only. Thank you very much, Matt, for coming on up to approve the minutes. I'm not sure why they had an RTC meeting, but they did. So, and that was the only item on the agenda. So there you go. That's all. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Next up, item 10C, City Manager's Report.
Very quickly, I just want to remind the council and the public that National Night Out will be taking place on Tuesday, October 7th, like they do in Texas, not August. It'll be from 4:30 to 7, and there's going to be food and DJ and magician and music and even possibly a helicopter from Enlo, which Arlene signed up. So anyways, it should be a fun evening, 4:30 to 7, Central Park, October 7th. And the other item I just wanted to mention quickly is that for the celebration of National Wildlife Refuge Week, at the October 14th council meeting at 4:30, we will have a Hawks, Honkers, and Hoots show out front here. And then the proclamation will be presented to, I believe, Sacramento National Wildlife Refuge later that evening before council meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, I do have one thing to add to back up to item 10B is I did receive an email in regards to the Willows Walmart grand reopening after they have revamped their store. And that will be held this Friday, I believe from 9 to 2. But I'll have to double check my email on that one.
9 to noon.
9 to noon? 9 to noon. I knew there was a 2 in it.
So a quick question, since the 7th is that going to be the planning commission meeting? So that's going to be, if anybody's going to the planning commission meeting, I guess they can attend part of the national night out and leave early to come back to the planning.
Yeah, it's
commission.
4:30 to 7, so. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
with that, sorry, I got answered. I throw my stuff away.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a quick question for Marty.
Yes.
Yeah, Senior Manager Marty Brown. Could you I'm sure you will, but could you remind us about that Raptor show? I saw your email on it earlier, but I definitely want to attend that. So yeah, thank you, Marty. Thank you. Thank you, Evan.
Okay. Sorry. With that, we will go into item 11, closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3. The public will have an opportunity to directly address the legislative body on the items below prior to the council convening the closed session. Public comments are generally restricted to 3 minutes. We have items 11A, conference with labor negotiators. Section code 54957.6, agency designated representatives, Marty Brown, city manager, and Andrew Platt, city attorney, employee organizations, UPEC, fire and general bargaining units, and management. Item 11B, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of the subdivision D of section 54956.9. 11C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of section 54956.9. Name of case, John Forbes et al. Versus County of Glenn et al. Glenn County Superior Court case number 23 CV 03205. Is there any public comment regarding those three items? Seeing none, we will adjourn into closed session at 9:38. Okay, and we are returning from closed session at 10:25. I will hand it over to the city attorney for a report out.
Thank you, Mayor. Council met in 3 items in closed session. First was a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency designated representatives were Marty Brown, city manager, and Andrew Platt, city attorney. The employee organizations were UPEC, fire, and general bargaining units and management. Report out was direction provided to staff. Second closed session was a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D, section 54956.9, case. Report out was direction was provided to staff. Final closed session item was a conference with legal counsel, assisting litigation pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision section 54956.9. Name of the case was John Forbes et al. Versus County of Glenn et al. Glenn County Superior Court case number 23 CV 03205. The report out was direction provided to staff.
Perfect. Thank you. With that, we will close our meeting at 10:26. Have a great rest of your evening.